Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is my show. Appreciate you being here as usual. First thing is first, if you are a fan of the podcast, you enjoy what I do with the show, I have some brand new merchandise out, hot on the presses, I guess technically hot on the presses because they're not out yet. It's a pre-order. I just launched a pre-order for the brand new Building Bridges t-shirt that is, pretty awesome if I do say so myself. I'm very excited. Proudly designed and printed in Pittsburgh. So I worked with a local illustrator, Derek Rudy. If you want to check out his work at Rudy_illustrates or www.rudyillustrates.com. I don't know how I came across his work, but I am quite a fan, and I reached out to him. We had a nice business meeting over a slice of Beato's pizza, an oversized Lunchable. I kind of bounced some ideas off of him, and after that, it was just a great process through its entirety. After I had my initial meeting with him, he went back, chewed on the ideas that I gave him, and provided me with 3 different concepts that were 3 different directions. And it was, in that moment, I would choose a concept that I wanted to proceed with. And then we had a couple rounds of polishing the design. And I just had a great experience with him. And I want to put shine on people that are a pleasure to work with. And Derek Rudy was a pleasure to work with. Like I said, www.rudyillustrates.com. It is it's a rare find to be able to, have an idea in your mind and work with a designer and to be able to convey your idea and that designer, see what you're seeing. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. But I'm very excited about these t-shirts. Building Bridges t-shirts are out for pre-order. You can get them on my website right now. I'll call you right back.com. And the pre-orders are open now up until, I believe, Sunday. So you got some time. But I will put the orders in, and then it'll be about 3 weeks from now. So order the shirt. I'll ship it to you in about 3 weeks. And like I said, designed and printed in the city of Pittsburgh. Working with Derek for the design. And then, of course, I will be working with Revival Print Company in Lawrenceville, which is a place I've been working with Dan there for almost a decade now. And he's a pleasure to work with as well. And like I said, if you are in search of any of these services, you could take my word for it, if that means anything. I don't know what my word means, but I just, I know that these people are great to work with, and I want to shout it from the rooftops. That's plain and simple. T-shirts, it's a big deal for me. If you support the show, if you want to enjoy the show, if you love the show and you want to support it, this is your opportunity. You could join the Patreon if you'd like. If you're interested in that, you could click my bio, or you could go to patreon.com and look for I'll Call You Right Back. It pops up. You know how to use the internet. But that's just a way to support, and buying one of these t-shirts is a way to support. They've been out for, a few hours now. I've had some orders already. I'm very thankful for it. I'm very, I'm flattered that people want to enjoy what I'm doing and what I am trying to put together with I'll Call You Right Back. I'm pumped about it. A lot of great stuff happening in the future. I think I'm going to be on Talk Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but I think tomorrow, technically Friday, I'm going to be on Talk Pittsburgh. So I don't know. Keep an eye out. I don't have cable. I don't really know how it works. They reached out to me, and I'm excited about it. You know what I mean? I'm going on, something that's involved in our city to talk about what I'm doing. Not often do I get to go on something and talk about what I am doing. I've had some podcast appearances where I go on other people's podcasts, and it's nice to be able to talk about why I created something like this and why I do something like this. And it'll be fun to talk to Heather Abraham about it too. So yeah, check out Talk Pittsburgh on Friday. We'll see how it goes. But the reason that everyone is here this week, we have a very, very special episode. This week, I sit down with a very dynamic duo They are the pair that make up Lobar Cocktail Services, which is a mobile bar service, or mobile cocktail service rather. And what they do is they come to your event and they bring everything needed to provide you with very delicious, very pleasing, very visually pleasing rather, craft cocktails. They bring the bar to you. All the accoutrement, all the fresh vegetables, all the fresh herbs, all the fresh fruits. They bring this in their mobile bar service that you could hire for your event. They show up and they have a couple craft cocktails that are created, and throughout the night they are equipped to provide your guests with the most basic, which are, obviously your vodka sodas, but then you could have some incredible drinks like the one that they made me when they came over. They came over with, like I said, a mobile bar service. They had the copper shakers, they had the whole thing, all the cups, all the accoutrement, all the fresh fruits. It was blowing my mind. Aubrey and Lisa came over and made a drink called the Jerk. So what the Jerk is some whiskey, which was mixed with a homemade simple syrup that was made with Penmax Jerk seasoning. So they make their own simple syrup. What I'm saying is they go above and beyond to make some craft cocktails. And that's just a service that you could provide for your event if you're trying to elevate. You know what I mean? It's very cool. It's a very interesting type of thing to be able to do. You know what I mean? If you want to have that experience, to have like a drink experience in that way where you could walk up and you could have that interaction with this bartender that is going to provide you with one of these upscale drinks. It's just, it's something different. It's a vibe. This week, Aubrey and Lisa and I sit down and we talk all about it. We talk about how they got into, the service industry. We talk about their collective 40 plus years of experience and ultimately how Lobar became. And it was a great conversation. I had a wonderful time with them. We also share a non-alcoholic beverage in the conversation. They brought an alcoholic drink, which was the Jerk, that's what I said, had whiskey in it. And then they brought a non-alcoholic gin, which they made the most delicious drink. It was a gin with a bitters lemon drink with a charred lemon in it. And, I hope I'm not butchering it, but it was an experience. It was great to talk to them and have this delicious drink, in my hand and being able to experience it and experience what they do in some way. So without further ado, episode 251 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Lobar Cocktail Services.
Telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I'm not trying to push you away. I feel like we're going to get into a conversation.
Thanks for the cocktail.
You're welcome. It was great to meet you.
I know. I always feel bad because I just kick her out. Get out of here. You need a bathroom, water, anything like that?
I'm good right now.
I'm good now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Does Ian's ever do anything like this?
No.
Never. Oh, I'm excited.
They have all the beverages. I'm like,
Yeah, a bunch of liquids. That's all you need. It's good. Okay. How's the headphones? They loud? They sound all right?
Let's see.
Too loud? Not loud enough?
I feel like
Pretty good.
myself.
I know. That's what I was afraid of.
I know. Everyone who comes here who's never done anything like this is, my voice sounds weird. They don't want to listen to it.
I just don't want to be too loud because
I was going to say we're both very loud
really loud.
and very talkative people. So
That's good. That's exactly what you want. But I appreciate you coming over, talking to me. I've been looking forward to this. I'm excited about it.
I'm so excited.
You've never done anything like this?
no.
Wow. Have you like had opportunities to do like any sort of like media interview, anything like that, like papers or anything?
I've done. I was just turning off my phone.
That's all right.
I've done like interviews for magazine,
Yeah.
and that's just a totally different world.
Yeah.
and like photo shoots.
Yeah.
Promo stuff like that, but never.
Nothing audio based.
No.
Nothing long form audio based.
No.
It's a good way to jump in, just like a long conversation about your lives.
Well, and we both love podcasts, so.
Your podcast listeners, what kind of stuff do you listen to?
Well, I like comedy.
Yeah.
I also like murder podcasts.
Yeah.
I've been listening to one called Roderick on the Line, if you're familiar with that, but they're based in Seattle and San Francisco. And John Roderick was in a band called the Long Winters, which is like a 90s, I don't know, Seattle band.
Yeah.
And it's just him and his friend that talk on the phone once a week for like an hour.
Really?
And I've been listening to them for probably 12 years.
Oh, wow.
My sister-in-law got me hooked on it, and I still to this day.
They just talk about whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like life philosophy, but also there's a lot of music. There's a lot of...
Yeah, who was your music friend that did that podcast? I like that one too.
Actually, so my friend Walker Lukens, I'm from Houston, Texas. My friend Walker lives in Austin. He's a very talented musician, and he has a podcast called The Song Confessional.
Yeah.
And it's a booth, and it's painted like a confessional booth. It's a trailer, and you can go in it and tell your confession, like tell your story.
No way.
And then he matches the confessional stories up with a band. And then the band has to write a song based on the story.
Oh, wow.
So the format of the podcast is that you hear the confession.
Yeah.
Then you hear the song.
Yeah.
And then they interview the band and say, what drew you to this story or what inspired you about it. And it's so good.
Yeah. What would you say it was called?
It's called The Song Confessional.
The Song Confessional. That
Put it
does
on your
sound
list.
good.
It's incredible.
I'm bad with names because I just saw Red Handed live in Philly.
Yeah.
And those ladies are hilarious. My friend got tickets and was like,
That's a podcast?
yeah. And she was like, this is my favorite. Do you want it? And they go over like murder stories and, kind of, I don't know. They're really hilarious. So they talk about it and it's like this is a funny story.
Yeah.
But they definitely dissect
The
it.
comic
and
relief.
they go into and how about this? Like the guy went and got himself a sandwich.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they
hell
add the commentary that you want.
They're really, really funny. And so seeing it live, I was totally shocked because I'm like, how do you see a live podcast?
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I laughed for 2 hours.
Yeah,
It was fantastic.
I would think so. I mean, I've been a fan for quite a while. I listen to a bunch of comedians and, they do live shows and it's weird to think about that, but I don't know. Everything just changed really. In the past, 10 years, it just starts to get more popular, starts to gain traction. And now everyone has a podcast. Everyone has a podcast. Everyone does one. And it's good though. It's interesting. I'm happy to have you in as the first ones, as my first or as your first experience. But I usually tell people how I came across them. I have never had someone be mentioned as many times as your company has in one of usually I'll put a post on an Instagram story if you know anyone that would be good on here, you want to hear their story, let me know. And I think one time I had 7 people mention Yins awesome. In one day. Yeah. And I was just geez. And Kayla from Pittsburgh Candle, she was the first one who put me on Yins. And here we are. So I'm excited to learn about what you do. Seems pretty interesting. Mobile bar service. And what else? Specialty cocktails. What's the tagline on the website?
I forget what our tagline is, but we're essentially a private bar service.
Yeah.
Because when we first started, I said we were a cocktail catering company.
Yeah.
But when you say the word catering, the word cocktail goes out the window and people are like, what kind of food do you make?
Yeah.
And catering is only food in people's head. It is just literally food. So we kind of switched around the verbiage to be we're a mobile bar service or a private cocktail service, private bar service. Because now there's mobile bar services as well, but mobile bar services usually mean you have
a trailer
and tap handles and we're not that either.
Oh, I get what you're saying now. Mobile cocktail service.
It's funny how the specifics of the language of what you use really does. You're fighting against yourself almost of what you're conveying to the client.
Yeah, exactly.
Go, oh wait, I think I have an idea of what you do, and also because not a lot of people are doing what we're doing, we do kind of have to slow it down and be like, okay, let us tell you what we're what we do.
Yeah.
And so
It's the hardest part for being an innovator is trying to convey what you're doing, to the masses.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that. So I definitely, now that you say that, I've seen like mobile bar services with like the trailers, but yeah, I guess I've never seen like a mobile cocktail bar. I was thinking back on like our wedding. Our wedding, I think that we were allowed to bring our own alcohol, but they provided like bartenders. But I mean, is it common?
Where did you get married?
The Hayloft in Rockwood. It's like it's like a barn. It was whenever all the barns were popping,
Yeah.
5 years ago, 6
They're
6
still
years ago.
popping.
Are they
Everyone still wants a barn wedding.
Really?
It's still popular.
It's interesting because like I'm like, I feel like I'm way more in tune with the wedding world than a lot of people who have nothing to do with it, just because of my wife.
Right.
I hear about everything that's going on. I hear about, how things kind of work. I see how her work comes in and, what she has to do to deal with it. But the event things is more where I find interest because, I like planning things. I like putting events together. I throw events, it's fun to try to put things together. Now, where, you said you were from Houston.
I am.
And you said you were from Seattle?
Not originally, but I moved here from Seattle. I've lived all around. I grew up in Texas.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah.
Which we did not know each
It's
other
kind
back
of
then.
this really funny Cinderella story of our friendship.
Yeah.
Is that we have these incredible parallels of our whole life, but we only became friends about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Really?
And started discovering this about each other. We're both 6 feet tall. We're both from Texas. We both bartended in Lawrenceville. In fact,
Across
across
the street
from
from
each other and didn't know each other.
Wow.
Because we worked the same shifts.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess.
So we wouldn't have ever been in each other's bars at the time while we were working, So it's just really
That makes sense.
funny how this has all come together.
But everyone was like, Lisa.
Yeah.
And then they're like, Aubrey. And we're both like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
And then we finally worked together with Black Radish because in the beginning of starting the Lobar, I started it by myself.
Yeah.
And so I was still picking up every gig I could possibly do. And they're like, well, you have to meet Lisa. She'd be great with you.
Well, we were bartending at Black Radish together, and that's how we became friends.
Oh, okay.
And then Aubrey started Lobar and was like, I'm stealing Lisa.
Okay.
And then we just kind of, our friendship grew as we were problem solving, your new business and getting that off the ground.
And she was like the only, like my right hand person that I could count on to be
Yeah.
the one that could be me when I wasn't there.
Yeah. Good counterpart.
And she always helped me build my cocktail menus. So I'd be like, hey, can I throw you like $100 and you could come over and like make a cocktail menu with me? And so when COVID happened, we got shut down completely like everybody else. I mean, our business was literally the first one to be shut down.
Yeah.
Events were the first canceled thing in our society, in our country. March 13th, I worked my last event for a wonderful couple. It was a private party, like a surprise birthday party. It was really fun and super awesome humans. And then I got to step away during COVID because I had time to, breathe air and live life. And I was like, I can definitely not do that again by myself because I worked all of the time and I had no life and I didn't see my family. I have a child who's now 16. But at the time, it was like I missed all these different things, and during COVID, people would be like, oh, you remember that camping trip? And, oh, you remember that time? And every one of those, I was like, no, I was working.
Yeah.
I was working. And then I did house painting during COVID to, pay the bills because I have construction skills on the totally different note than bartending and running a high-end cocktail business. And Lisa was like, I called her first because I was like, I don't think I'm going to reopen. And I'm probably just going to like give these people their deposits back and be like, I'm sorry, good luck.
Yeah.
And Lisa was like, no, you have to keep this business going because it's like the only job I want to have.
I did say this is the only job that I want to do.
Yeah. It says on your website.
This is our dream job.
This is our dream job. And I
it
feel
is.
like when me
It
and my
definitely
wife looked at the website, she like, we both looked at it and we both like read it and looked at each other and we were like, that's the best. Like, that's like what you want to hear.
It's
And,
incredible.
yeah,
It
that's
is
awesome.
My entire life has changed based on having this to be a part of, having this to be creative in, to be excited about.
Yeah, something
and to
of
be
your own.
working towards. Exactly.
And I just think we're a really good team too because what I didn't want to pick back up during COVID were the things that were like more difficult for me and not as much my wheelhouse as what I do now.
Yeah.
It's because I was doing all aspects of the business. So with Lisa, I was like, you know more people in the bartending scene. You talk to more people around, like you go out more than I do. Like you have more capability of finding staffing. And, she's so good up front behind the bar. And it's not that I'm not, it just that was like not really my passion. I'm just great with people.
Yeah.
So if I have a full day of like Zoom and phone calls, like, and emails, I love that because I still get to talk to people, but I get to have a 9 to 5. I get to have weekends with my family.
Yeah.
And
we've done a really good job of kind of delegating
what people are good at.
Yes, and kind of seeking the skill sets that we each have independently, and then collaborating on the things that we're both really good at,
right?
And we're outsourcing the things that maybe neither of us are good at.
Yeah, that's important.
So it's
our website's a great example of that.
We saw your website. It looks great.
Isn't that fantastic?
It does look great.
A really cool story.
Yeah.
Which is, we have to give a shout out to our graphic designer, Ruby Western.
Okay.
Because she's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it is a good website. I looked on there and I try to do my research. I try to limit it enough to where, I'm still.
You're still surprised.
I'm still just like,
mystery.
some spontaneity. You know what I mean? If I learn everything about someone, I feel like the conversation doesn't naturally, progress like it should because I just like know what's going on. But the website is good. I thought it was cool that we read that was like the first line, like this is our dream job. It kind of like sucks you in, and then it's cool to see through your Instagram like all the different events. I saw you work with like church.
Churchview.
I breathed in and it went down the wrong pipe. Yeah, I saw you work with Churchview. I had Tara on; she was great, and that's also something that I saw that like kind of piqued my interest. You look like you do. Go a little bit further than just the vodka sodas. You know what I mean? Obviously, we'll to kind of reel it back in a little bit. You pulled up with a full bar, and what's the drink that we're having right now?
So we are drinking the Jerk, which is basically a riff on a whiskey sour. It's got pineapple juice, fresh lime juice, and then we make a simple syrup out of jerk seasoning. We use Penmax Special Jamaican Jerk Seasoning Blend because I specifically love that jerk seasoning. I think it has great balance and flavor. And we love
Penmac.
And we love Penmac.
Who doesn't, right?
All right. And I wanted to do something that was savory on the menu, but everything that we make menu-wise still has to be approachable because like we don't only do weddings. We do corporate happy hours. We do private parties for it's my 40th birthday. And so in a wedding setting is a good, and a corporate happy hour is like a good example of like, you're going to have every type of human.
Yeah.
And so some people are like, I go to cocktail bars and I know all about everything that's on this list.
But there's other people that don't want to be overwhelmed.
And they're like, can I have a Diet Coke and vodka?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, hun, I got your Diet Coke and vodka.
Coke and vodka.
I mean, it's...
Do people order that?
Well...
I remember the vodka, the whipped vodka was a big thing.
Oh God, it was so gross.
That was a big thing.
Yeah, I used to work at a live music venue in Seattle. When that came out, it was bad news.
Yeah, it was probably such like a popular thing. I knew how crazy it was in high school. Now, rewind this a little bit. Like, what originally did Jins want to do? With your life. I mean, obviously, I don't gather that Jins knew you wanted to run a high level cocktail service. So what was the original idea?
Well,
come up on that mic a little bit, please.
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, I was always, I was a bartender from 2001 until I started this business.
Yeah.
Working in other people's bars for other people. And the bar world is a tough one because no matter how good you are at it and how much money you make, eventually your body is like, I'm dying.
Yeah.
Like I can't work till 5 a.m. and function as a human being because I'm not 25 anymore.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get out of it and go into bookkeeping. I had an opportunity to work for a friend of mine for her tax accounting firm, and she taught me a lot of great skills. But I just like could not sit behind a computer and not talk to people and do bookkeeping all day.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, what was before bartending?
I mean, literally, I
You
worked,
didn't have,
I have worked in the service industry since I was 15.
doing what, food stuff in the beginning?
Yes, but I bartended as soon as I was old enough to bartend.
Okay.
So,
But that was kind of
that
always,
was just it. I was just like, this is my skill.
Yeah.
This is what I'm very good at.
Wow.
And this is what I love doing. And so I never disliked doing it. It just was so hard to continue to work for other people. And I also am not a crazy person, and I know how hard it is to own a bar.
For sure.
So the next step, everyone's like, oh, you should open a bar. I'm like, that is crazy talk. I am never going to own a bar.
Bars
But I
and
was working in
restaurants.
catering for probably 4 years, but with Black Radish, which at the time was E Squared, with Chef Kate Romaine, who's been just like a huge inspiration, help, amazing person to mentor. Like, she has helped our business like be what it is today.
It would not be possible.
It would not
without
be.
Kate
Yeah,
Romaine.
she's just an incredible human, and it's been so inspiring. And so I was working for her doing bar, like I said, and Lisa too, and working these like catering events. And I'm like, catering is the best because no matter what, it is someone's fun time. It is not someone who just got off of work whose like boss was like beating up on them all day, and now they're like, now you're gonna get it.
Yeah, every event is the best.
It's a celebration.
so much fun.
And
Yeah,
and
there's you don't
there's
start
no
a tab.
regulars. Yeah, there's no tab. We're not taking any money. Everyone's just like drinking for free and having a great time. And so when I was like, this is actually its own sector. Like, it's not just a part of a food business. It's its own section of catering. And so I talked with one of my best friends, Kim, and her uncle has been in the catering business in California for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And we called him after having some whiskey late one night from the kitchen, and we were like, hey, uncle, what do you think about this idea? And he's like, I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. Here's why it will work. Here's why it works where I am. I have a woman you can talk to about it. She runs a bar business doing exactly what you're talking about. And if you need advice, do this. So I reached out to that woman who was super helpful and nice. And then I reached out to Kate Romaine, and I was like, we have this idea. What do you think? And she's like, yes, great. How can I help you?
Was there not anything like this before?
There was another business that's been around longer than me in Pittsburgh doing mobile bar catering.
Yeah.
But just not at this extent. It's
Yeah.
more of like a whiskey Coke.
Or I kind of compare it to like what you could order on an airplane.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Right.
vodka, tonic.
Yeah. You're having your go-tos.
Wine. Yes.
Not necessarily like a
Not a
catered menu.
cocktail
Yeah, with different
experience.
seasonings.
Yeah, and on top of the cocktail menu being what's special is like we also come and bring a cocktail bar to your experience. So we don't use a napkin caddy. We don't use it's not like what you would see if you walked into a bar.
Yeah.
It's what you would see if you walked into a
not-
really high-end cocktail bar.
Yeah.
We use glassware for our garnish trays. We use all copper shakers. All of our barware is all copper. Our
What does that have to do? What is copper? Like I mean, I know what it is obviously, but
It
why?
just looks beautiful.
It's an
So we
aesthetic.
just create a beautiful aesthetic bar that doesn't look like
your
someone
typical-
set up in a garage
table.
on a picnic
Right.
table. Like our bars are
It's
bar height.
styled.
That makes
It's
sense.
styled.
I just didn't know if the copper had like something to do with flavor or anything like that.
It just looks
pretty.
cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty. Now, what about you, Lisa?
Well, I moved here in 2004 from Houston to go
Yeah.
to college. I went to CMU for 2 years for
Okay.
art school.
Art school.
And it was not for me,
What type of medium?
painting.
Okay.
And I decided to take a leave of absence. And my dad sat me down and was like, I would just really hate to see you start your adult life in tons of debt for an art degree, And so, it was pretty wild. Yeah.
That's
for him
interesting.
to say that to me.
Usually, I'm from the opposite spectrum. My mom is like, go to school, get some
Yeah.
secure, you want
Yeah, my
security.
dad had a master's degree in social work. And so I think he had seen this side of like debt and education and working really hard.
Wow.
And was like, I want you to have your freedom. Now, granted, they definitely wanted me to finish school.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, so I left CMU. I took a leave of absence, and I had known a peer at CMU who was actually a Katrina transfer from Tulane when Katrina happened.
Yeah.
So he was then working in a kitchen in a bar called the Thunderbird Cafe in Lawrenceville.
Yeah.
And I had remembered that my dad once said, if you see somebody or you think of a job that you think you might want to have, to take somebody to lunch who has that job and
talk to
ask
them
them about
about
it. And so anyway, I called this guy and I was like, I think I'm going to go to bartending school. And he was like, well, don't do that. And he was like, come to the Thunderbird. And I was 21. I'd been 21 for maybe 5 minutes. And I went down to Lawrenceville, which was very scary then. It was 2006.
It's been around that long? Thunderbird has?
Yes, way before.
I've never been there. And I feel like that I have just heard about it in the past 3 years.
Well, so I got a job there bartending.
Yeah.
And I worked there from 2006 to 2016. So I worked there for 10 years.
Wow.
When they closed for their big renovation.
All bartending? That's what you did? Well, what did you want to do before this? What were you into before this?
I mean, I think I thought I was going to be an artist. And I think I thought I was going to be, if not an artist, somebody's muse. Or some, I don't know what I think I thought I was going to do.
I ask everyone that.
I thought I was going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And the thing about bartending is that they'll let you keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Just crazy enough to keep doing it.
Totally.
So, and at that time, the neighborhood was starting to change, and we were a music venue, and I had really good shifts, weekend shifts, and made good money, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying, well, I'm going to keep doing this until I figure out what's next. And then they finally closed for their big renovation project, and it was like, I had to kind of blink 3 times and be like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And so I tried
How long did that close?
It was closed for 3 years.
3 years. Mm-hmm. So you
they
just
said it was going to be 6 months.
You just didn't have a job for 3 years.
Correct.
Wow. Jeez.
But I was trying to make the most of it. I even tried to leave the industry. I think I had some judgments of myself and of the industry of just kind of that I wanted this different life.
Yeah.
And I tried to sell real estate for a little bit. I did some other odd jobs and stuff. And then
just wasn't for you.
Well, I love bartending.
Yeah.
It's a good use of my skill set. And I think Aubrey could say the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of bonded over this shared experience, again, of meeting bartending for catering.
Yeah.
And coming to this collective, understanding of how it was kind of the best of all worlds.
I was just going to say, it's the best of both worlds, I feel.
I still get to use my personality, which is outgoing and excitable, and I'm great at talking to people.
Yeah.
And so are you. It's like, this is what we're good at. We're front of house people.
Right.
And now with Lobar, we've basically taken out all of the parts
that you hate.
That we hated.
Yeah, work until 3 a.m.
Right.
We don't serve past 11.
Yeah.
Done.
Wow.
Yeah. The insurance company was like, so when do you want to be insured to serve alcohol till? And I was like, are you asking me when I want to work until?
Wow.
I'm going to say
That's
11 is bedtime. 11 is bedtime, so that's donezo.
So, you could technically say 2 a.m.? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. So that's just something they'll ask you ahead of time.
So then, the insurance company, and we pay for a year, so the policy. And so that way it's also most venues, you have until 10 o'clock anyways.
Yeah.
And
I guess that makes
We're
sense.
rarely working. We're
Late.
rarely serving until 11, I should say.
And even then it's then it can be if you want to have a private party in your home, which many people do, then we'll set up a self-serve bar.
Okay.
So we'll be we'll be there till 11, but then here's you're in your own house, so you can be responsible for yourselves.
Yeah.
This is your booze. This is your home. We're
Wow.
out. But in
We
public
couldn't do that at a
spaces, we
venue.
can't. Yeah.
Right.
At venues, we can't do that. And venues are mostly here's all the strict rules, and
Yeah.
everyone needs to be out by 10. And I'm
Yeah, like a
sounds
hard out
good.
and everything. That's interesting. So whenever you wanted to originally start this idea, was this something that was attainable for you, or were you kind of overwhelmed in the beginning as far as kind of doing this yourself? Did you want it to be what it is now originally?
I wanted it to be exactly what it is now, but I didn't know Elisa.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that I would ever have a partner in it, just because I've witnessed other small businesses have partners, and bars that I've worked for have bar part ownership. And it's difficult,
Yeah.
because it's a difficult industry. But me and Lisa, it's just been seamless with our friendship, and the same for work wise. We are on the same page of what we both want to do in the business.
Yeah.
And
Well, what was this originally as far as now it's what you wanted it to be, but in the beginning, did it kind of look the same? What were you doing? What type of events?
it did look the same, but I would say that before COVID, I would say 80% of our business was private home parties.
Oh, really?
And because Pittsburgh has a lot of old money. And so there's a lot of people who have just extensive.
They're entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, they're
beautiful
having
homes,
events and
wine cellars, multiple built-in bars in their homes.
Wow.
And so when those clients want to entertain, then they love having, you know, a private bar service come in.
and
that-
And then once they hire us, they're like, well, I would never not have a bartender.
Yeah.
Right. And then
I've
it's
done
like,
it this
oh,
way.
we have a derby party, and now we have a Cinco de Mayo party, and now we have a cocktail party.
I would have
for-
never thought about that. Private parties and events like that.
So that was the majority of it. And then we did, you know, a few corporate things and then a few weddings.
Well, how do you start it out? Like, how do you gain clients? How do people start learning about you? Was it
So-
always Lobar?
It was always Lobar.
Where's the name come from?
It's kind of silly. But that same night that I was with my friend Kim, drinking whiskey in the kitchen and telling her, like, I have this crazy idea. Do you think this would work? She's like, let's call my uncle. We were like talking about names and we were like joking around. And then we just kind of came around like, oh, like, you know, set the bar high, or we could be the low bar, like down low, we're secret. And it was just like silly nonsense and kind of fun.
Well, that's how easy it comes to you.
And then it just like
Well, and
stuck
now-
because it was
yeah.
like, ooh, that's kind of like
It's a
rolls
vibe.
off the tongue. And
Yeah.
it, you know, and then when I met our designer of my logo, who is not the same woman who did our website, the logo, I kind of expressed to her like, oh, kind of this vibe and this and this. And she worked with me for like a month and came up with that logo. And it was just like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's kind of Art Deco.
It's kind of
Yeah.
Art
It's like
Deco.
our
Yep.
colors are black and pink.
Yeah, I love
Or
it.
rose gold, you know, and we style our bars with vintage doilies and candles and
Yeah, a whole vibe.
dried flowers, and we go to thrift stores and buy little candy dishes with gold, you know. So
I like that.
that's how we kind of, our drinks definitely elevate an experience, but our aesthetic is what visually
Yeah, adds to it.
adds to it for sure.
Yeah, you go that extra mile to like not just, you know, have
Right.
your bare bones, you know, rocks, glasses, things like that.
Exactly.
Right.
And
That's interesting to think that you kind of wanted to like, you know, curate this experience because, you know, it's fascinating to hear like, you know, wanting to have the best of both worlds where, you know, you're just creating your own environment. And that sounds like such a logical thing to do and a smart thing to do. But
Well, and I think what's awesome about what we've created is that, you know, we both kind of stepped out of the service industry in
Yeah.
different ways with different maybe ambitions or expectations, and then being able to kind of step back in this
like on
dynamic.
our terms.
yeah,
On
how
our
you want to do
terms.
it. Yeah.
Because I'm like, wait, I am good at bartending.
Yeah.
And
Right.
actually, that was a great job. And that's how I bought my house.
Yeah.
And that's how I supported myself for so long. And to not have this kind of judgment of a past self or stigma of like, this isn't as good of a job as maybe you could have. Whereas
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
no, actually, this is a great job. And now the way that Aubrey and I hire people and we pay our employees really well, I now feel like I'm empowering other people.
Hell yeah.
By saying on a weekend, if you left the industry and you miss it, I'm going to give you a chance to dip your toe back in.
Yeah.
Work one event, twice, 2 events a month, make a couple $100, you know, that's a car payment, or that's getting you your own apartment, or that's
Yeah.
getting you. I mean, we've had employees who were so great and did so well with us that they could afford to move out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's great.
Come back.
We're like, no.
But also, that's what this is for.
Yeah.
It's not for somebody to necessarily have a regular shift,
Yeah.
right? Our employees aren't going to only like work every Friday because it's gig work. We only work when somebody hires us. So I have a roster of people. I'm always expanding it. I'm always interviewing people. I'm always meeting people because we are more powerful with more
Yeah.
people.
Many hands make light
And
work.
yes. And then when people do work for us, they go, oh my gosh, this was so fun.
Yeah.
I loved it. Let me know. Like,
Yeah.
let me know when I can come back. And that's just kind of, it's so cool that we've created this thing that has legs, you know, and kind of stands on its own, and people can kind of come and go, or we have people who go to school or change careers and they're like, can I pick up more?
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh, I had a baby. I need to, you know,
Yeah,
take
step back a little bit.
Yeah. And I feel so proud of it because I know that I'm offering people a great job.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty.
I work that job all the time. So I know that there isn't an expectation that I'm unwilling to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what's good about it. It's like, you know, I've talked to 250 people, you know, you're about to be 250. And
my
through
gosh.
all of the people that I've spoken to, it's so interesting to hear, people that are good employees, or good bosses rather than employees, but like the people that follow along with them and like how happy they are. Like a great example is like Oak Hill Post. I don't know if you're
I
familiar
love
with them.
Yeah.
It's like Christian and Rebecca, they seem to put so much into what they created, and they, rather than like, what you hear about the stereotypical food industry, like, oh, you don't get paid shit, it's terrible, it's, militant in a kitchen, rather than it being like a dictatorship, it's like, everyone kind of, it works their own part, everyone works together, makes it easier. And it's cool to hear that, like, you feel empowered to give people a good opportunity rather than, be some jackass that's just like on a power trip.
right.
You know what I mean?
And I think too that like for me, I've never wanted to be anyone's boss.
Yeah.
I've worked for people for years and I've had many bosses, and I've been offered management positions, which is just a joke.
Yeah.
In the service industry. And because it's just like, would you like to make less money
It's usually
and
pay
have
cut.
more
I was gonna
stress?
say.
Have more stuff to deal
Yeah,
with.
and no, thank you. And I also don't want to deal with like hiring and firing people. This has just never been my thing that I want to do. And what I think with Lobar that's so special is that we empower everyone to take the positions that they want and nothing more. And so the expectations are just like to do really well and show up and fulfill your commitment. But I feel like we more work a lot. Like when I talk about people who work with us, I always say like, oh, he works with me. Like I never say like for
my
me,
employee, yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's like, we just don't function on that level. It's like whoever will, she'll send out a mass email and say like, hey, we have all these things, like who wants to work them? And some people are like, I swear I still want to work with you. I just can't for the next 2 months. And we're like, we'll always still ask you if you want to work. You're never, we don't play favorites. You don't have to be
saying no fast is better than saying yes long. Like waiting a long time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Dragging you on. Just tell me to rip the Band-Aid
Just say
off.
no if it's no, because we'll find other people. And the other thing that we do specifically for the employees is that Aubrey and I are working the week of, the day before, the day of, and the day after to just kind of have this creative control where we're troubleshooting, we're problem solving. We have everything. When they show up, they're literally unloading, setting up, and they can focus on
serving
service.
drinks.
Yeah.
They don't have to cut
just
fruit.
service.
They don't have to make any garnish. We pre-batch. This cocktail that I made today is a perfect example. This is what we put all of our cocktails in a glass swing top.
Yeah.
And so our bartender shows up and they have like,
it's all ready
this
to go.
would already be prepped. Their pineapple would be prepped for them. No one has to cut anything. You just show up and you like be nice to people and have
literally
like help
all
them
we
have
ask.
the best time ever.
Yeah.
And that's your only job, is to just be like efficient and happy and help them have the best time ever.
Because we're party people.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone's having a party where you are.
So if there's stress, it should be on my end or on
Behind the
Lisa's
scenes,
end, behind
you
the scenes,
know?
and no one's going to see that, and no one's going to know that. We also have Nancy who works for us, who's been there since day one as well, and she's like the third arm of us.
Yeah.
If like I can't be there, Lisa can't be there, Nance is there, or we have 3 events in one day, then I work, Lisa works, Nancy works. So we have she's like, we call her our point person. She's kind of like a manager, but
utility player.
Yeah. And so she's like the one who knows how everything goes. She's responsible to hold the keys.
I need you here.
She'll make sure the staff does what they need to do. And like, should there be any issues, she can solve them. She's a mom of 2 kids. So like, she knows.
She could deal with it.
She can deal with anyone.
Well, whenever you started this out, it's like, what goes into creating this? Like before, I don't know if we were recording or not, but we were talking about like insurance that you have to get. But like what all goes into like what you wanted as a bar service, as a mobile bar, as a mobile cocktail service rather, like what all do you have to do in the beginning?
So we usually get most of our submissions come through our website, and or referral directly. A lot of from Black Radish and many from event venues. We work really closely with some of the best venues in this city. Mattress Factory being one of them, the Frick Museum, CMU. Like we have a bunch of great
couple law firms downtown that use us.
Churchview,
Falling Water.
Yeah.
So Falling Water, yeah. So when people book an event at XYZ, any of these places, they'll say here's a bar service that we like to work with.
Oh, yeah.
And so that we'll get a submission, and then I send that client, a copy of our current cocktail menu and our offerings, which are basically like showing our prices and what all of our packages include.
Yeah.
And then I schedule a phone call with them because it is still a detailed and somewhat confusing process for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so it's just so much easier to talk. And I'm a talker. So
It definitely humanizes.
it definitely humanizes the experience. So
I
because
hate an email.
so many emails
hate-
back and forth, back and forth, back
You
and
can't
forth.
get anyone's emotion out of it.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah,
tell what
it's
people
true.
like.
totally.
Just
totally.
pick up the phone.
Yeah, I hate
And there's
it.
just so many questions that just bring more questions. So it's
Exactly.
much more efficient if we just take a half an
Have
hour
17
to an hour.
emails,
Right.
with one question that you think of rather than a half-hour conversation where you can knock it
Bingo.
all out.
Exactly.
Now, from a customer end, that's one way, but as a business end, whenever you wanted to start us, all the red tape that you went through, like you had to.
Well, also when we reopened August of 2021, and then we as partners had to meet with the accountant, the lawyer, draw up a business, our agreement.
Yeah.
We had to renew our insurance.
Which went up 5 times since previous
went up
COVID.
an outrageous
actually
amount.
5 times of what it used to
Jesus.
be for liquor liability insurance. And then
The branding, website,
Yeah.
etc.
which we already had that in place, but it wasn't really great. It was like, I made our Squarespace
Yeah.
website, and it's like, I don't know
Which
anything
does
about.
come back to our Ruby Western story, which is so special. So we had this client this spring who's getting married at the mattress factory. We went through everything. We sent her the information, the menus, etc. And she wrote back and was like, this is great. We want to move forward. And I'm a graphic designer. And can I help you?
Yeah.
We were like,
At first we were like, I
we
don't know
need
if we really
help, but we
need-
don't know what exactly
we need.
We
even.
need.
And then she was like, how about this? Here's a little mock-up. And we were like, oh my God, yes, we need that. Oh my God.
She
Yeah.
made us a little mock-up, and it was it blew our minds.
It was wonderful. And then we had like a great trade with them. And so like
So we
her and her partner, like for their wedding, it was like basically we just traded our services for
Yeah.
for Ruby's services. And it turned out also like, sorry to every wedding. I always enjoy every wedding, but it really was my favorite wedding I've
Yeah.
ever worked.
It was
Like,
awesome.
That's
Lisa
great.
and I, like the whole time, I cry at every wedding. They never get
I
old.
cry at every wedding.
I eloped and went to Vegas. I didn't even have a wedding. Me and my husband, like we've been together for over 20 years, and just weddings were not my thing for
Yeah.
me personally, but I love other people's
Yeah.
love, and it's great.
It's fun to go to.
Yes,
There's no pressure.
it
You don't have to
is.
worry about it.
there's
Totally.
strangers that are just, declaring their love for each other and
that
care
was
for each
just
other.
a
And
really
I just
special
sobbed
one.
the whole time.
Yeah,
But Ruby's wedding was spectacular. It was an exceptional.
Ruby and
beautiful
Allie, we love them.
wedding. And afterwards, we got to have a kick-ass website
Yeah.
and
Yep.
a friend.
Yeah,
Ruby,
totally.
if you're out there listening.
By the way, Ruby and Allie,
wanna
we
hang out
think you
with
guys
you?
are really cool. Your kid's super cute, so is your dog.
But yeah, so that was just such an awesome, I think that was something where she really helped us understand where our paperwork or our website or our materials can match the caliber of our
Yes.
drinks.
Yeah,
of
how
our
to level up
service.
these
Yep.
things.
Yes.
And help communicate to the client what we do better.
Yeah.
Because I also think that Ruby's redesigning our website, that helped too.
Yeah.
So, and I think that like that was part of the big reopening at post-COVID with like partnering with Lisa. I was like, okay, if you want to do this, here's the thing. I was already in debt because I had debt as a new business. I was going into my 3rd year. We were fully booked.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. So it was like starting from the bottom again and having to like come up with all of this initial funding to be like, we have to have a lawyer. We have to have the accountant. We have to, all of these things stopped and now we have to pick them back up and they're all more expensive now.
Yeah.
And so once we got over that hurdle, it was like we kind of just stepped back into where we were, but then it's only gotten better because having another person and not just me having to come up with all of the solutions and finding all the problems was everything.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, oh, I thought a better way to do this. And she's like, I found a better way to do this. And we created
just kind of
spreadsheets.
collaborate
and
on everything on the back end of it too. Because I think my philosophy or some of the what I bring to the business is I say, I not only do I not work a 40-hour work week, but I refuse to work a 40-hour work week. And I'm passionate about making sure that this business is sustainable, viable, like successful.
And effective.
But I say, if there's, if you're going to do 5 hours of emails in a day, why couldn't it be 4?
Yeah.
If it's 4, why couldn't it be 3?
Yeah.
And also, like, I want Aubrey to live her life and have her interests. And
Yeah.
our interests are what make us unique people. And that's something that I really believe in life philosophy, like you have to be that work-life balance. Like
You have to have
life has
time.
to be in that balance in a big way.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And so we're always coming up with these kinds of checks and balances and solutions. And I'm trying to come up with systems and shortcuts and stuff so that we're more succinct, more detailed.
Yeah, the logical, just more logical, more intentional as you do what you could do.
We want to be able to share information between us pretty seamlessly and make sure that we can then relay that to between the client, the employees, and the venue, all of it, so that we're all on the same page, so that we're not working that much, so that we can then have energy for Friday night for the wedding or for the happy hour downtown or for whatever the event is, because that's where we need to have our energy,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It does. Are you now let me ask you, Aubrey, whenever you started this, are you a control freak?
I don't think so. I'm very much like, how can we all help make this happen?
Yeah.
I'm a control freak about specific aspects, like how the bar looks and how the cocktails are made with consistency, which is why I make the garnish and I make the batch. And I make sure that all of these pours and ingredients are consistent, so that every drink tastes the same. But as long as I'm making this batch and I'm mixing these together, or I have a recipe that says, 8 ounces of this to 2 ounces to 4 ounces, my bar back can read and they can make that. And I totally trust and believe in people who work with me to be able to execute that and
to
follow
the
through
systems that we've put into place.
Yeah, there's only the only things that I get really nitpicky about are usually like aesthetics, where I'm like,
definitely
never put this types of sodas that we have on display. Like, we're not doing that. You wouldn't walk into a beautiful cocktail bar and see
a can of Sprite.
So you have Coke, Yangling, and I never. No, we are not doing that.
We want a guest to walk up to the bar and say, "All right, what are we making?"
Yeah.
And we want our staff to say, "All right, today we have the jerk sour. It's made with from scratch ingredients. We make the jerk simple from scratch, from Penmac jerk seasoning. We want them to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And not have, you're going to, of course, have guests that want to still just have a vodka soda, which is fine.
Yeah.
But we really want to guide people towards our cocktails.
Yeah,
that's
more have
what
an
we're
experience
making.
rather than just a
And
moment.
they're really special. They're really designed. They're really curated. And they're, Aubrey and my creation. And that's what we're trying to put into people's hands.
Is that always something that was of interest to the both of you as bartenders, as far as expanding your cocktails rather than just, it's hard for me because I'm not in the world. I never was a drinker. I've probably been drunk 7 times in my life, and it's interesting to think about the idea of a bartender and a bar owner. And if it's, just the idea of, serve the drink, move on to the next, and just rather than put the time and thought into expanding these cocktail menus and adding in all this extra wild stuff. Have you always been interested in that type of thing?
Well, I think there's 2 kind of philosophies behind bars and what they offer, and one being the way that I made money at the Thunderbird my whole life was speed.
Yeah.
It was a shot and beer kind of bar.
Yeah.
You could get a bottle of Yingling for $2 and a shot of Jim Beam for $2.50, and I was making so many drinks so fast. And then a bucket drink for tip, you could make money that way.
Yeah.
Then there's this other side of the cocktail world, which is just a totally different format. But
that's where I came from.
And that's where Aubrey came from. So
okay.
I think we both
I
were
also
volume.
worked in shot and bar volume as well, but my longest period of time and my favorite bar jobs that I have had were cocktail bars.
Yeah.
And I worked in a cocktail bar called Tina's for a year and a half. I helped them open after the Thunderbird closed during their renovation period. And that's where I finally learned. They took kind of a risk on me not having any experience in the cocktail world, but I was like, but I'm fast.
Yeah.
I'm fast and I'm friendly.
Yeah.
That's what I can promise you.
Yeah.
And so they taught me a lot about classic cocktails, kind of understanding the build of how you make them, what the ingredients are, what the proportions are, and what makes a delicious, balanced cocktail.
Yeah.
And then Aubrey and I collaborating together. I know that you're much more involved in the behind the scenes of like you were at other bars coming up with cocktails.
When I lived in Seattle, I worked for a couple of cocktail bars. However, when I moved to Pittsburgh, I got a job at Round Corner Cantina, and this was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the owners at the time, who is no longer with them, Sarah, was just a really awesome. She was a bar owner who was a bartender, which you never, ever, ever, ever find.
Yeah.
So she was like, cool, you have ideas, but here's how it goes, babe. And it's like, we appreciate your ideas, but here's our cocktail menu. And I appreciated that because it was like, here is the detailed how you make everything and why you do it this way. And so the lines were clear and it made it easy to do my job efficiently and well. And I did learn a lot about different flavor profiles and mixing things together. However, it wasn't a job where my input was needed. And then I worked at Butter Joint for a while, off and on throughout the years. Like I helped open Butter Joint when they very first moved to the location in Oakland. And we had different managers there, and it was the same thing. It was kind of like, oh, yeah, you can give us these ideas, but they're not exactly what we're looking for. And so we're going to do things this way. And so with opening Lobar, I think that was like the thing that I was most excited about when it comes to like control is that
having like a creative outlet.
For the first time ever, like I'm the one who's saying what we're making and I'm saying how it's going to be made. And I actually really know what I'm doing. And I didn't have to prove that to anyone.
Yeah.
I just had to prove it to people who are buying my services, which has so far been working.
Now, let me ask, you said you went to bartender school.
I did not.
You did not go to bartender school.
So the person who got me into the Thunderbird was like, do not go to bartending school.
Okay.
Save your money. And he was like, if you go to bartending school, no one will hire you.
It's true. It's true.
What is bartending school?
A scam.
It's like a 2-week program and they teach you how to make like a
the go-tos.
Slippery nipple or whatever.
Things that people don't drink anymore.
Real gross. Something blue, something pink, something yellow.
So now, like, do you have any like formal education for any of this or just experience? Good old
we both
experience.
love to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I think is definitely something where we are inspired by that and just kind of having this passion and hobby for food and food cooking and going out and trying new things. And so when we create 2 menus a year. So we make a spring, summer, and a fall, winter. And so usually that involves Aubrey and I going to the strip district with maybe a list, maybe not, of things that
Sometimes
we're
we just go to the
for.
Asian market and we're like, that's weird. What's that?
Yeah.
Let's
and
get
we
it.
just kind of buy everything and then go back to the
kitchen and
figure it out. Yeah. And
Wow.
then we get really excited about kind of trying new things, but then again, it has to be approachable enough.
Yeah.
It can't be too weird.
Yeah,
But
sometimes we'll get we had that one that was like red bell pepper margarita, and we were both like, man, this is so
we
good.
juiced red bell peppers and
Wow.
put them in a margarita, and it was so vegetal and delicious and bright red.
But it's just one of those
It was
things that
just
people
a little too weird.
because
Yeah.
it's like if we owned a cocktail bar, I'm sure we would,
We could put it on there, but not at somebody's wedding.
Where there's like,
they're-
that's like
Yeah.
one of the choices out of like the
2
few.
or 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Now, if a person, like let's say I'm hiring you to do this and like I wanted to come up with, you do customize, will you customize your stuff too as well?
So what we do is we send out our menu and kind of try to guide people towards those drinks. Our bartenders are trained on making them. And
that's part of what keeps it consistent and streamlined. It's like if we send out our bartender that works once a month or maybe once every 3 months for us,
Yeah.
And throw
the
a
way
new
that
drink
they
at
can do
them.
their job consistently is because they have this menu for the season.
That makes sense.
And they know our ratios. And so it's not something they have to learn. It's literally an ounce of the alcohol and then 2 or 3 ounces of the mix and then the garnish. And so it keeps things very consistent so that all the drinks are made properly. When we have something that's, we will make a specialty cocktail for a client, but again, it's kind of
That's
like
adding time for every single person that's getting in there. It's not normal.
Yeah, and it's also hard because also since COVID, the availability of product is an issue to a degree.
Definitely.
The fact that we are working in a lot of venues that we don't have a sink behind the bar to like rinse things off.
Oh, wow.
We are working with like Sandy buckets and, you know, our skills. And so we don't have what a typical bar would have behind it to make our job easier. So we really have to come with everything prepared on our end. And
Your menu reflects that.
the menu reflects that, because when you know, like I said earlier when we were talking, like if you go to a restaurant, you don't just show up at the restaurant and be like, tonight I'd like duck à l'orange.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is the menu.
Yeah.
And so the consistency of our products, because we don't just work like one day a week. You know, we have like multiple events on singular days and multiple events in a week. And so we have to have all of these things. Like I will make a batch of sugar. I always call it like cooking sugar.
Yeah.
So if I'm cooking sugar, like the jerk syrup, for example, I'll make like 20 quarts.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not for one event. That's for multiple events. It's just how a kitchen would work.
So it got to be uniform across the way.
It's like we're not going to make soup for one person. We're going to make soup for the day because
just
we're going to serve a
logical.
lot of customers today.
Because we are creating at such volume.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
some of the numbers are, I mean, it's kind of,
We have like
they
a,
seem
you know,
insane. They
like-
seem unreasonable,
Yeah.
but it's like, you
I mean,
know,
we
we've-
will have like a 400 person event
Jesus.
in 2 hours. So 400 people have to get cocktails in 2 hours, and we have to like juice a hell of a lot of cucumbers to make that many cocktails.
And that is again what makes us so unique, and nobody else is doing what we are doing,
Yeah.
which is that we are going and getting flats of strawberries, and Aubrey is macerating them into simple syrup, and we're straining them.
goodness.
And then we have these giant, you know, orange igloo beverage coolers that you
Wow.
would, you know, have water in for
Football game.
field day. Yeah,
Right,
right.
but instead they have,
But it's
like,
full of
this mix.
hibiscus margarita.
I like
and
that.
you're like, okay, well, how do we call it the gold, the liquid gold?
liquid
But,
gold.
You know, nobody's allowed to touch it until the day of the event, or
it gets transported by
me.
by her, by Nancy or myself, because it's like only we can touch.
Yeah.
If anything happens to it, you can't just run to Giant
just
Eagle
ruined.
and buy
can't
hibiscus
just
margarita
make it.
mix from scratch. So
Right.
none of our mixes have artificial sweeteners, any artificial coloring. Nothing is
Bought off a
the
shelf.
Nothing has xanthan gum in it. Nothing has anything fake in it. If we're gonna make something, even if we're gonna go off menu for something, if we make a Bloody Mary, I mean, we're making it with tomato juice and
Yeah, fresh
Worcestershire
dill
and fresh dill
yeah.
and whatever. Literally everything we make that we bring
Wow.
is 100% made from scratch. So it's really, you know, we make it the day of or the day before, and it's good for a day, you know.
And I think another like thing that works really well with our kind of method is that I typically tell a client, like, pick between 2 and 4 different cocktails off the specialty menu, and that way you get a good spirit profile. So,
Yeah.
you know, a vodka, a gin, a bourbon, and a tequila, for example. And then if they have those specialty cocktails, they're going to be printed on a menu at the bar. So when guests come up, they're not like, I don't know, rum and Coke.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, look at that. That sounds interesting. I'll try it. However, we also still have things that, like, if they come up to the bar and they know what they drink and that's just what they drink, like a
Yeah.
vodka soda,
Yeah.
we have the vodka soda.
Of course.
Okay, so
You
you,
know,
have
so-
you have like the
Yes.
go-tos
Or,
on hand.
you know, if we are serving bourbon, we're going to bring simple syrup. We're going to bring bitters. We're going to bring oranges so
Orange.
that, like, someone could just have an old fashioned if that's
yeah.
what they
So
want.
you're not
we
only
can make call drinks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
within
not
reason.
only you're not only just like, you know, doing the elevated type drinks. You could do the
call drinks are included in the service as well. But typically, when people walk up to the bar and they see these delicious options, that's
Yeah.
what they go with. They're like, why would I want a Negroni when I can get a Negroni anywhere?
Yeah.
So-
I guess that makes sense. That's very interesting. What, as far as, you know, like I've been curious, I've been researching the ramp certification. So like, what's all required as what Yins are doing as far as that? Are Yins required to be ramp certified? What is that even? What
It's
is
an
that?
online responsible alcohol class
Yeah.
that you take, and the certification's good for 2 years. So
Yeah.
you have to re-up every 2 years.
And that's not like, they're not teaching you how to make cocktails or anything, right?
No, it's about the legal
Yeah.
aspects of
Okay.
it. So just kind of like the Pennsylvania specific liquor laws,
Yeah.
kind of your liability as a bartender, what
Yeah.
it means with over serving, different just kind of safety things.
And
Interesting.
many event venues require ramp certified bartenders.
Yeah.
Our insurance doesn't require our bartenders to be ramp certified, but we do.
But we do.
Yeah.
Just
We're like,
because
just get it. Just do it.
you're
Yeah,
ramp
might as well.
certified, then everyone can work at the venues, and we have the insurance, and we're covering all the bases the best we can. We also create our cocktails because they're always at an open bar at a 1 ounce pour. So a typical cocktail is a 1.5 ounce.
Yeah.
Or more.
Or more, because if you go to most bars, they pour, just freehand
Yeah, you're
and,
kicked in the face.
Right.
And so we don't.
And with an open bar format, it's just, you can't really have guests drinking 6 hours worth of Negronis.
Yeah.
That wouldn't
Right.
be good for anyone. And I kind of joke, well, not necessarily joke, but say that our, photographers love our bar service because they're like, the pictures turn out so good.
Yeah, they look
because
great.
people aren't hammered immediately.
Yeah.
If
guess
somebody
that's a
wants
good
a
point.
double or something, they can have it. Again, if somebody is coming up to the bar and specifically asking for something, our bartenders can usually make it, if not get close.
Yeah.
But at a 1 ounce pour, if it's an open bar,
Everyone's
they can have as
maintaining.
many as
Yeah.
they want.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas not just getting like blacked out immediately.
Right. And the stuff that we're putting in the other 2 ounces, like all of our cocktails are 3 ounces.
Yeah.
So if it's 1 ounce of spirit, the other 2 ounces are either
Quality.
soda,
Yeah.
juice, electrolytes, vitamin C,
Yeah.
cucumber, fresh ginger, whatever it is, and so people are drinking them and they're getting hydrated and I can tell you how big of a difference it makes.
Yeah.
They're just enjoying themselves.
And that helps the client too, because we give them a suggested purchase list. So after they, we kind of explain how we work, and then we send all the information, and we have a conversation on the phone and get their vision and what they're looking for. And then we'll send them an estimate. And then when they come back and say, yes, we're going to hire you, we send them a deposit to hold the date. And then they pick out their cocktails, and, alongside with saying, oh, we're going to serve this kind of beer. We want to have 2 different types of red wine. We want, sparkling throughout, whatever. I will take that information along with the cocktails that they choose, and I will do a math equation that's boring and detailed. But I actually do so much more math in my life than I ever
Probably
thought
ever
that
thought that you
I
would.
never thought I would
Really?
do so much math in my life, because I
It's
deal
a lot
in
of quantities.
Yeah.
so many quantities all the live long day.
Yeah. Recipes and everything.
Yeah. And then just even when a client's like, okay, send me the list. And it's like, well, they have 125 people and we have 5 hours and we're going to have 7 different types of alcohol being served. And we have to divide that into the proper categories times how many hours, times how many people.
My goodness.
And then I can say, you're going to need X amount of 750 milliliter bottles of whiskey, for an example.
Yeah.
And
And then the client picks what whiskey
Whatever they want.
So that's also kind of the bonus of doing it this way, is that the client gets to say, if they love Woodford, they should get Woodford.
Yeah. Or if they wanna
want
go to-
Granddad, they should get Granddad.
Yeah. Or they could go to Ohio and,
Go to
go
Costco,
to
get some
Costco,
Kirkland.
do whatever you want.
Get some Kirkland whiskey.
Yeah.
So people could purchase the alcohol for you to use?
Correct.
That's what they do. We do not sell any alcohol.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have a liquor license, nor do we want one. In order to have a liquor license in Pennsylvania, you have to have a actual brick and mortar bar.
Yeah.
And no, thank you. Never.
that
You
makes sense
You
then.
couldn't pay me enough.
So
Right,
you
and so
just instruct them on what to buy.
And then the client keeps all of that liquor at the end of the night.
Yeah, whatever's left
so
over.
if
Or
there's
they return.
leftovers, they can return
They can
it.
return whatever they
can
want.
Give it to
And we
their
work-
groomsmen or whatever. They can
Yeah, we
start
had a
their home
shitload
bar.
after. Yeah.
And we work with different vendors too. Like we have a great wine purveyor, Laura Wines, and he does Italian varietals. And so if I have someone who's like, I really want some specific wine and I don't really know, I'll send him to Michael and say, here's his profile. You can order what you want and I'll pick it up from him. Or, Quantum Spirits out in Carnegie. They gave us a price breakdown. So if our clients want to order bulk, they'll break down the price a little more and they'll deliver it.
Wow.
And they'll return.
And they'll return.
PA
Yeah.
Libations has offered us the same thing, which is great because then you're getting to also not only support local business, but also support PA spirits.
Yeah.
And we learned when we brought this hidden still David E. Bourbon whiskey with us. When we did this tasting at PA Libations, we learned that there's actually an insane amount of great quality spirits that come from Pennsylvania. Like
Really?
so many good spirits.
Wow.
And so like really the only thing that we're light on as a state is tequila because we can't even call it tequila,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah,
Agave,
agave spirit.
right.
Yeah.
But there is a decent one out there. I can't remember the name of it.
It's
but
also hidden
Is it
still.
hidden still as well? That's the one we used also. And that tequila's delicious. And
Yeah.
I'm a tequila person. So
Wow.
I'm pretty picky about that kind of stuff. So it's nice in that way too, because it's like if a lot of people, especially like some of our corporate clients or
out of state
we have a-
clients will just have a natural interest
Uh-huh.
in wanting to support local.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, well, we're here, we're in Pittsburgh. Like,
Yeah, that's a cool
what do you
aspect of
have?
the whole thing of like utilizing what's
And we-
available around.
and we actually have a ton of out of state weddings now. It's very strange.
Like you're going out of state or
No,
people
they
from out
come
of state?
here.
Yeah, it's wild. Antoinette, someone
Has
just
she
came
had that
from Colorado.
experience?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Colorado, all over.
Oh yeah, Chicago, Toronto, New York, lots of New York weddings.
Why do you think that is?
What I've asked
Cheaper?
all of them, no, and it's our location and our venue options. So many of them are picking like the Frick
Yeah.
and the Mattress Factory, and I mean these are like incredible, world-renowned
Art
museums
museums.
Yeah.
that are like amazing spaces to have your wedding in. And then also it's our location.
Yeah.
On the map, like Pittsburgh is just easy to access from
Yeah.
all different points.
Yeah, it makes
And-
sense.
And so it's like if people have to pick a place where it's like no one's picking which family side, we're gonna have everyone
Neutral
can come.
territory.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
you can come
plus-
from Connecticut, you can come from Chicago.
Yeah, no one wants
know.
to get married in New York City. Pittsburgh is more approachable, not as overwhelming.
Totally. So
That's interesting to think about that. I would have never.
destination wedding, it's bizarre, but I
yeah,
love
destination
it.
wedding in
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
At first, we're like, really? And now we're kind of like, oh,
Yeah, we
Now,
got
do
a lot
you
of
guys
them.
travel out of state?
Yes, please.
we would love to.
Oh,
We,
yeah.
we actually have a wedding. Our first out of state wedding is next year in Deep Creek, Maryland.
Oh,
And we're
wow.
going at the end of the month to meet the couple and go to the venue. And I'm very excited because
That's great.
the venue's on the lake and
What's it called?
it's called Blue Moon Rising.
Oh yeah, I think I
have,
hear about it because of my wife. I hear
Yes,
about all
and they
these
have all
things.
these cabins. So like this particular couple is renting the entire place out. And
Yeah.
so their whole wedding party is going to stay and they're going to have a whole wedding weekend. And I'm like, how
My
fun.
sister-in-law was just there 2 weekends ago for a wedding, and I saw photos of it, and I was like, I looked it up, and I was like, what is this place? And she was like, I don't know what to think about it. And then she texted me, and she was like, damn, this place is nice.
Yeah.
But that's cool. It sounded very unique, but that's so technically, I mean, you don't have to have like any sort of like, you can only work in PA as a business or anything like
We're
that.
going to have to get a different. I have to talk to my accountant. Sorry,
Yeah.
Erica. She's also one of my best friends, so I can pick her brain on it. But we're going to have to do something different tax wise, like in
Yeah.
how we pay for our sales tax. And
Insurance.
our insurance, we're going to have to get probably like an extra insurance
Yeah.
situation, but nothing undoable.
Now, there's nothing that like is a certification that Ian's carry. Like, is there a certification besides the ramp or anything that you have to worry
as far
about?
as like being able to prove that we should be able to make drinks?
Not
or-
even that. I mean, like, yeah, I guess I'm curious in that way. I mean, like, so
No.
Yeah.
Short answer,
Insurance.
no.
It's mostly insurance.
yeah, I would assume that.
That's
I mean,
what
like,
mostly people care about. Is
that's
like,
what we had to do. They were
Yep.
like, you got to get this insurance. We'll have bartenders, everything like that. And I would assume that that's like the pillar of what the main concern of any sort of establishment that has alcohol involved.
Totally.
You're worried about the safety of the people.
Even like public parks and stuff. We've had clients that have wanted to get married in a park, and even to reserve the parklet or whatever, they'll be like, okay, great, just show us your insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And they're like, okay, oh no. Like if they thought they were going to do it themselves, then they either have to get 1 day's worth of insurance
Oh, yeah.
or they have to hire a service like us.
Right.
Wow.
And we don't do just staffing. We're not going to just send a bartender out
Yeah.
to your cooler full of White Claws or whatever.
Yeah.
Our
The whole
Whole
thing.
package.
we are everything, so we need, when you hire us, that's what you're getting.
That makes
is
sense.
Everything.
That's very interesting. Now, what as far as like obviously you're becoming more established now that COVID's done. Hopefully things are back to normal. What are your goals as a business?
For me, I think my number one goal is to eventually get our own space.
Yeah.
Because I feel
you want
like
that eventually? You want to have a brick and mortar?
not a bar.
Yeah.
Just a space that is, we currently rent part of our, rent part of Black Radish's kitchen, like
Okay.
their commissary kitchen. So we share a kitchen with a very successful, busy catering company. And then Chef Chilla, who works out on Churchview Farms, she also shares a space with them. And Nick
Fat Fisk.
from Fat Fisk, they also share a space. So we all kind of like work around each other. And I feel like for us to be able to get larger and just continue to grow, we need to have our own kitchen.
Yeah, home base.
And something that's like also an office for us. And then also a place where we could have pop-ups or like private dinners with chefs that we could pair with,
tastings,
Yeah.
private tastings. We have clients who want to do like, they want to taste all of our cocktails before
it's
they
like
pick
a wedding,
which one.
taste of a wedding cake.
Exactly. And we just don't have the capability to do that yet.
That makes sense.
And I working from home all day, it's like, in the beginning, I was like, this is so awesome. And now I'm like, I am going to pull out my hair strand by strand. Cause like I have a teenager and I have a dog and I have 3 cats and I have like
you gotta get
construction
away a little
happening
bit.
next door. And
I know my wife has been working from
Yeah.
home for like 4 years now. And, you would think in the beginning, you're like, what are you whining about?
great.
It's your home. It's
Right.
great. But I get it. You get stuck in this.
and there's distractions.
Yeah, it's
Well,
like
and
Groundhog
Aubrey and I
Day.
are such creative people that I feel like it would be really awesome to have a place where we could just go and
just
have
your
our
own and go
think
crazy a
tank
little
and
bit.
Think
get-
tank, where we could meet up instead of like, because we'll meet up together and like have like work days, where we're not making product or working at a wedding, but we're like figuring things out.
Yeah.
But it's like
If you're sharing a space with everyone, I'm sure it's, you got to
we don't even, she just comes to my house.
Yeah.
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 And I have a sailboat. And so it's like in the summer months, it's in the water.
Yeah.
At a marina. And so that's been my saving grace. Cause I'm like, it is 15 minutes from my kitchen.
Yeah.
At like my Black Radish kitchen. So, and Black Radish is 15 minutes from my house. So it's kind of like a halfway point. And I can
sometimes Aubrey
at
is
least
sending emails
from the boat.
That's good.
The only thing I can't do from the boat is Zoom. So
That's
like,
life.
yeah, like I don't. It's definitely
not a bad
glorious.
deal.
It does not suck.
Yeah.
It's a small like little liveaboard boat. So it
Yeah.
has like a little galley, a bathroom. Like I can make coffee. I can make a cocktail.
Yeah.
I can
Get away
stare
a
at the
little bit.
river.
Yeah, that's
like
perfect.
hang out with the old dudes that like sit there and fish and drink beer from 10 a.m. and like
Yeah, you
that's
can't
their
beat
life.
that.
No, it's awesome, and it's in Verona, which feels like a totally different town because it kind of is.
Yeah. Is
And-
it by the island there?
It's by Sycamore.
Yeah.
It's
Such a wild, weird place.
so weird and so awesome.
Yeah, the first time I was there was last year. I went fishing with my dad, and that's where my wife was from. She grew up in right by Oakmont, by that Sheets right there.
way.
Yeah, right there. And I went to this place, and I was like, "This is an island. There's
Yeah.
people that are living out here, and it's just wild to think about
It's
that."
real cool, and it's a neat little like. I feel like I'm on vacation. I've been calling it my
Yeah.
Verona vacation because it's like I live in Polish Hill. I have like super city neighborhood.
Yeah.
You can't like walk outside your door without like talking to everyone in the entire vicinity because
Yeah, so
everyone
that's
knows each other, which is great. It's Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
But that's a
why I
good
live
way to
there.
get away over there.
Well, and I just remembered during COVID, you said to me, you're like, everything that we're going through is unimaginable. Like, this is unimaginable. We can't work.
Yeah.
We can't see our friends. We can't hug each other. We can't,
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
it's a
It's
fucking weird
unimaginable.
time.
And then she said, well, what's your unimaginable life? She's like, my unimaginable life is I never thought I'd have a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
living-
I have chills like repeating that because it was just this way of spinning it to say
Yeah.
like, okay, if this is unimaginable, then what
could I do
else
that
could be
doesn't
unimaginable
seem
that's
like
positive?
I could do it?
Yeah.
And I think for me, I like did a ton of work in my garden and started just really reframing how I was thinking about how I engage with my life, how I
Yeah.
engage as a part of my circle, my
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
and how important it was. Like once we were vaccinated and able to be out and doing stuff, I started volunteering. I started, just trying to be engaged in these different ways.
Put the world on a
To
reset.
yes,
Really
yes.
did it. Everyone, it kind of grounded everyone
And so
to
I think-
start over from the beginning.
And so here we are kind of like just we as friends also and having such similar life philosophies. I think we just keep building upon it where it's like now my unimaginable life is that I own a business and I'm bartending and I'm engaging with people the way that I always was good at, but
Yeah.
now it's something that I really believe in and I have total creative control over.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
both of
investing in this.
Yeah, it's both of your, your babies.
Yeah. And I have a business partner who listens to me and I listen to her and we're simpatico.
Well, how do you get through that? As business partners, I do all this shit myself. I would lose my mind if I had someone else. I ask everyone if they're control freaks because I am a huge control freak. I want no one to touch any of this shit because I just feel that no one's going to do it.
Of course.
The way that I am. So as partners,
Well,
how do you keep the tension
I think
at a minimum?
something that's really special is that our friendship developed while doing this kind of work.
Oh, that's good because
And
you hear if
so
you become a
business with
roommate,
friends or live with, exactly.
You always hear it as a nightmare.
And so I kind of always reduce it to that simple of like us becoming friends in this type of work.
Yeah.
That was the foundation of our friendship and our relationship, but also we again have so many things in common.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
I'll have days that like I'm like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. And these things. And Lisa's like, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Okay, I can handle those emails. Like I've got them. I'll reach out to them. I'm like, cool, great. Because I just need to like go to the boat for the rest of the day and not work or whatever it is. Deal with whatever the things I have to deal with.
And we kind of have a philosophy of cross-training even our staff where we pay our bartenders and our barbacks the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Everybody makes $200.
Yeah.
That's what they make.
And the client that's transparent on the client end as well.
Yeah.
So when we have people and they're like, well, what does this cost? And what does this cost? I'm like, your staff gets paid this and that is their pay. And so we're not that's
I want
directly
everyone
to them
to do everything.
Yeah.
And I don't want somebody who's a bartender to think, well, I don't want to be a barback for this wedding
Yeah,
because
it's
they're
like-
just as important.
Right.
And often, I'm trained to be a bartender. That's what I did for the last 16 years. Yeah, 16. And, but I like to barback.
Yeah.
I love
Because it's
barbacking.
fun. You like run around and I love to take out the trash. It's my favorite.
I
I'm
like-
like, let me take out the trash.
I like the idea of being, I don't like not knowing things. I want to know every aspect of everything because I want to be involved in that way. Like I've always been someone who is, like if I worked at a place, like I want to know why this is like that. Well, I want
it's
to
the
do
nature
that.
of what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
It's the nature of this podcast
That's
too.
true, I
Of
guess. It's a
you
good
like
point.
I love your energy that you're asking these questions and you have a natural curiosity that's obvious with the way that you speak to people in this format and it's super cool.
I appreciate that.
That's just something I think so for us, like we're kind of cross-trained on each other's responsibilities in a sense. There's certain things that I think Aubrey's a bit better at than I am, but I'm still kind of learning from her. And then also
and vice versa, because the staffing is just like, thank the gods that she does that.
I handle the staffing,
and
but
she
I also
just does
do a
it
lot
better
of,
than I did. Like
I do a lot
didn't
of
have
organizing for the business
exactly.
too, and vice versa. Like Aubrey's really good at organizing our things, like our equipment.
Yeah.
I would never put the same thing in the same spot twice ever in my life, and Aubrey can create a system, and I will put it in the right spot every time.
So yins are yin and yang.
We
We
are.
are, and we work off of each other in those realms too, because we are constantly changing, and we're both open to constant change.
Yeah.
Because it's in the spirit of us both either being more efficient, which means
making
we
it
work
better.
and better, and then we work less, which really is kind of the end of the day,
That's
the
the goal.
That's the goal, right?
I don't believe in a 40-hour work week.
Yeah.
Granted, there's a lot of weeks I work more than 40 hours,
Yeah.
but
But them weeks that you don't work
there's weeks
40
that I
hours, you're like,
don't,
this is what we're doing it for.
Or maybe, exactly. And so I always say that my vision as a business partner to Aubrey is that I want her to be on her boat.
Yeah.
And I think for you and your vision for me is that I'm not in an office answering emails 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like that's your vision for
I love
me.
that.
And so we're always kind of like lifting each other up.
She's in the garden or the hot tub.
I'm in my inflatable hot tub or in my garden, and Aubrey's on her boat. And so we're like living these lives that we really support each other in. And we do some social things together. We're in a cookbook club, which is super fun.
I love that.
And
Very
we all
fun.
cook.
What's that? What does that have to do with? You're all taking turns making recipes?
We cook out of the same cookbook once a month. So somebody picks a cookbook. It's at somebody's house.
How
and
many
then there's
people are in
8
this?
people.
I
There's
love
4
that.
couples.
That's perfect.
And so everybody cooks a different recipe out of the
Out of the same book.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
so fun.
And it's like a little potluck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
So then we
wow.
get to
My
we'll be on a
sister-in-law,
text.
is who got me interested in the idea. She lives in Austin. And so, we just
We'll
kind of
just do a mass text. And
You started this?
Just for us
Yeah,
and our
just
friends.
for us and our friends.
Oh my God,
But
I love
think we
that.
started it like a while ago.
2 years ago,
Like 2
maybe?
years
2 or
ago.
3 years ago.
And we just keep it going. Usually in the summer, we'll miss
Because we're so busy in the
July
summer.
and August. It's just too hard for us. And so is everybody else. Like
Yeah.
our business is more busy at this time, but all of our friends that are a part of this, none of them work in the industry that we do.
Yeah.
So they have pretty regular jobs and regular schedules.
So
but
they're
everyone
forgiving
travels
to
and
know
stuff,
that your schedule is a little bit more
Right.
chaotic.
And it's really fun though, because it's like we get to, when you do from one book, and we like to pick books that have cocktails in them too.
Yeah.
So like, I think our first one we did was Rasika.
It was.
And,
An Indian restaurant in DC.
That's incredible. Michelin star
Wow.
chef.
We're ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
oh my God.
We get pretty
We like
crazy.
special order. We special order ingredients. So sometimes on the mass text,
I
we'll be
love
like,
that
I'm
energy.
ordering from this and we're getting this and this delivered. Who else needs something from this?
Kim flew in stone crabs for Cuba night from
No
Florida.
shit.
Yes.
We're like, alrighty.
Oh, I love that energy. I
It
love
is really
that.
good.
Which
It's really
actually,
good.
so the other cocktail that we brought today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
is
my
a
goodness, I forgot
non-alcoholic
about it.
cocktail.
But it's a non-alcoholic. So.
And the inspiration for this was our last cookbook club was Frances Mallman, who cooks over live fire.
Okay.
And so for that one, we had, a live fire going in my backyard. There was
Wow.
a chicken hanging from gardening.
My husband made it.
Yeah, it was
made a
it was
whole
wild.
spit to like hang the chicken to roast it.
But
Did you
anyway,
just dispatch it, or you bought it? You bought it dispatched.
does
I
that
don't know. He did it.
Death?
I didn't. My
Kill it?
husband.
Well, you
no,
kill
we
it?
didn't kill
No.
it.
Okay.
No, my husband bought it. It was like an organic chicken.
That's
I
fair.
don't know. He dealt with it.
I was just
I don't
curious.
like cut
It's
up
like
the.
we got a husband out there. He's cut a head off a
Yeah.
chicken. We're all in it.
I'd be even
Maybe next-
more
maybe
impressed.
next year.
But no.
Maybe next year. It's something to work
Talk
up
to
to.
Tara on that one. Get
yeah,
some advice.
exactly. Talk to Tara at the farm.
Yeah, that's cool though.
So
I
we
like
get
that.
because, and so I guess where I was going with that, and then we'll segue into this next cocktail. But Aubrey and I we don't just work together, and then with us taking over different aspects of the business, we're not necessarily working physically together all the
Yeah.
time, but we are actually friends,
Well,
and
it's-
so we are actually spending a lot of time together, and we've taken Lobar vacations together to Las Vegas and to experiment, like learning new. I don't know, just getting inspiration wherever we can find it.
It sounds like a good partnership, and I recently read this thing about, it was talking about relationships and like what the pivotal part of a relationship is, and that's being able to pick up the percentage that the partner is willing to give and being able to pick up the remainder. Like, your partner comes in and says, I got 10% right now to get through
Right.
tonight. And, it goes on the other partner to be like, well, I got that 90%. And then it's whenever the other partner is like, I got 15% to give today. The other
Right.
person's like,
Right.
I'll pick up your 85, and, you work off each other.
And I think that's where we're coming from, because we talk almost every day on the phone,
Yeah.
if not in person, and we just really communicate well.
That's good.
So if
That's
I
the key
need
of it.
something, I just tell her that
Yeah.
I need it. It's radical.
Now, what is this one going to be called?
So this drink, we
was actually inspired by one of our cookbook clubs.
yeah, so this was from the last one from Frances Mallman. And so it's a charred lemon and rosemary gin and tonic. And so the lemon, the garnish is what's really extra special about this drink. So we take lemons and slice them on a mandolin, and then cook them, char them on the cast iron.
Got charred lemons
So
here?
we've got charred lemons
Oh my goodness.
and fresh rosemary from Aubrey's garden.
Wow. So you're big gardeners?
We're both pretty big gardeners.
I mean, I don't typically grow enough of anything to serve for our clients.
for the volume that we usually
because we have such big volume, but we both love growing.
Hobbyist
cooking.
gardeners.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so anyway, so this is just a classic gin and tonic, but what's extra special about it is the charred lemon and then the fresh rosemary. And we use a local soda instead of a tonic, which is the
Red Ribbon.
bitter lemon soda.
Yeah, I got to talk to the Red Ribbon people.
You do.
Believe me, they're on my list.
Awesome. And Red Ribbon has been a product I've carried since day one. It was like, oh, there's a local soda company and it's
You
fantastic.
can put me in contact with whoever's.
Yeah. Yes.
We'll
Yes.
get it.
I
Yeah.
actually, the man who owns this, his mother owns Girasol.
What is it?
Girasole, the like old school Italian restaurant
in Shady Side?
Oh, I've never
It's
heard of
been
that.
around forever.
I'm a foodie, but I am, I'm like not an upscale foodie. I'm a new upscale foodie rather.
Well, this is a great town to explore food in.
That's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to explore.
In art school, and she said to me, Lisa, art isn't going to change Pittsburgh, food is. And I was
That's
always like,
interesting.
oh man, like that's so depressing because I was really, championing for art, and it really was food, and
It's
that's
true because if you think about it, not everyone could like kind of digest art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you're like someone that has that eye, I'm going to look at a painting and I'm not going to be able to see
right.
what you could see. But food,
Girls got to eat.
it don't matter if people could speak different
Right.
languages. Don't matter where people are from. Everyone kind of bonds
And you
over
share
food.
a meal,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So this cocktail, what's also special
My
about
goodness.
this?
Yeah, cheers.
Well, cheers.
Smells
folks.
like a
cheers, y'all.
like a Christmas tree.
yeah, right.
So the charred lemon, what it does by cooking it, it just makes it caramely and still just bright. And
Oh, it's refreshing.
lemon. And then this drink specifically, instead of gin, we're using the Free Spirits
Wait.
non-alcoholic gin.
Non-alcoholic gin.
Yeah, so we bought
I see this bottle?
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
you should try it by itself.
You should definitely try it by itself. So we bought this at the
It's
Open
incredible.
Road, which is the non-alcoholic liquor store in Allentown.
Wow.
It actually
smells
tastes
very-
delicious alone. Like
Taste it by itself.
shockingly
it has
good.
The bite of a liquor, of a spirit.
Like a Tanqueray.
Yeah, and it's really peppery. It's just it's delicious.
My dad grew up, or I grew up with my dad drinking like Tanqueray, and it's
Yeah.
like whenever I was younger, you're young, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a sip of this. Tasted like hell, but
Yeah.
This is delicious. And
So
wow,
we
how
found,
do they make it?
So it's distilled.
it's a
distilled-
vacuum distillation process. We learned all of this from this wonderful human named Mel who owns
the Open Road.
Pittsburgh's first non-alcoholic bottle shop, and I think she was one of the first like 2 or 3 in the country to open a non-alcoholic bottle
She's
shop.
incredible.
They're up in
Incredible.
Allentown.
In Allentown. Mhm.
They're on my list too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Super interesting human to talk to.
Yeah.
And so we went to the shop and she basically gave us like a tasting tour. We paired up with her and Black Radish and did a dry January coursed dinner. I think we did 5 cocktails
I
to
love
5
that.
courses.
Yeah, it's really
so-
incredible the options that are out there. you know?
Unbelievable. So the vacuum distillation process, as Mel described it to me, was basically like they distill the gin and then they heat it at a very low temperature for a long time.
For the alcohol
And
to
it-
kind of.
It comes to the surface without boiling away
Yeah.
the flavor. So I think it was like, what was it, Beck's or what the first NA beer that like everyone was like,
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember what beer it was, but it was a green bottle
had
beer.
one from
St.
them.
Pauli or one of
It was,
those.
but it was in the back in the day, you
Okay.
know, when there wasn't really like non-alcoholic options that were
Straub?
delicious. No, this was like a long time ago.
Yeah.
So like they made this NA beer, and that NA beer was essentially they would just boil it until the alcohol was gone, and so you'd get this really kind of gross version of the beer with the as far as I understood, the vacuum distillation process actually keeps the spirit
Wow.
flavor to
It's
it.
definitely interesting for
Isn't it?
sure.
Isn't
Yes.
it good?
And this has actually vitamin B12 in it.
And it'll make you feel a little
You'll get
bit
buzzy.
Buzzy.
I like that. That's
in a
interesting.
really healthy way.
It's really cool.
What's the world of Pittsburgh as far as NA, cocktails and parties?
It's
like that?
happening.
I mean, like
It
I,
is happening.
as someone who doesn't drink, my wife will go get a espresso martini, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very rarely will get a drink, but I have since been dipping my toes in non-alcoholic drinks. I think the one that put me on the map was probably the one from Poussadi's. It was like a
Their cocktails are so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
the alcohol one that she got is called like the steeple or something. It's like a tea one, but it was so dangerous that you could just rip it down.
Yeah.
But I got the non-alcoholic one, and I tried all those different ones because why not? I don't really drink, but I know. And it's so crazy, the level of all the flavors. And, you think you're like, why a non-alcoholic cocktail? Like, how good could it be? But it's really crazy. Like, I enjoy it more just because, like, I don't know.
It's special.
It's special.
And it's still made in the way, like, when you think about the nature of bartending and why are we even engaging in this practice?
Yeah, like
and
the
why has it
ritual
been
of
around
it.
for so long?
Yeah.
And it's because, you could open up your can of PBR at home by yourself, or you could make a Negroni at home. It's the easiest recipe. It's equal parts, gin, Campari, sweet vermouth. No, make it at home. You can make it in a 5-gallon bucket.
Do you guys have people that are hiring you for non-alcoholic services?
We do.
I just actually booked a birthday party today that is going to be in August.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I don't really drink, and some of my friends do, but a lot of them don't for recovery reasons and religious reasons.
Yeah.
And so she was like, I just want to have a non-alcoholic cocktail party. And we were like, yeah, great. So
Done
she's
and done.
picking 4 different cocktails. And they're off of our menu because we also create our menu to be doable without alcohol. So there's some that you don't need to add any NA spirit to that will be a delicious layer of flavor.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic cocktail
Without the non-alcoholic distilled spirit.
and without a non-alcoholic distilled, because again, we have a wedding, like a Muslim wedding coming up, and they like are not, they don't even want
the fake
alcohol.
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah.
They just literally want like a bar that looks beautiful with beautiful looking.
They want the look of it. But
Yeah, and like everyone wants to sip on something that's
Yeah.
not lemonade.
Yeah.
With soda water.
And
in
so
it.
that's something that I even find that guests that come up to our bars at these private parties, if they're, for whatever reason they're deciding not to imbibe that night.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, I'll just have a ginger ale, and I'll get the
my
opportunity
go-to.
to say.
That's me, a ginger ale.
But I'll be like, I'll have the opportunity to say, well, we actually can make any of these drinks without alcohol.
Yeah.
Or we have a non-alcoholic tequila with us, and people get so excited. And
Yeah,
we always bring a non-alcoholic
We always
spirit,
bring something,
no matter
even
what
if-
That's such an
services.
interesting
And so we have
aspect
guests
of it all.
if they're driving or
Yeah.
if they're just even watching their diet or health concern, whatever the reason is, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm not selling liquor, so I don't have an agenda. I'm not pushing something.
Yeah, you're still
I'm
providing
selling
your service.
These delicious drinks that I know are going to be delicious with a distilled non-alcoholic spirit or with a club soda.
Yeah.
Or with whatever. And then if they want a ginger ale after they have one or two, that's fine. And we have some people who even switch back to alcohol.
Yeah.
They'll
Right.
switch to have an NA cocktail, and then they'll have another that has alcohol, and then have one that doesn't, just to kind of help pace themselves.
Yeah,
and
why
I think
not,
that's
right?
beautiful.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
We had a client, we have a client because we've done multiple parties for them that are both in recovery.
Yeah.
And they've been in recovery 20 plus years, but all of their friends drink.
Yeah.
And they have this beautiful vacation home in the Laurel Highlands, and they love to throw these like
Black tie, catered
beautiful
dinners.
parties.
Yeah,
So,
they don't want to just walk around with a
They're
red
fabulous.
cup. They,
Exactly.
they
And
want
so-
something nice.
And so they hire us, and they were kind of like our first start to be, and we tried seed lip for the first time because of them. They're like, we're going to have these 3 seed lips. Can you make,
What does that mean? What is seed lip?
seed lip is
It's
another
a brand.
It's another
of
brand
a
of a,
distilled non-alcoholic spirit.
Okay.
and so, but Mel has introduced us to many
Once we
other-
went to Open Road and
were
we were
like,
like, we've used
oh.
seed lip, she was kind of like, let me guide you
Yeah.
towards some better options. And we
Yeah,
were
that's
like,
just
I
like the
think maybe
first
we'd
of
like
it.
to-
And
Yeah,
now there's all kinds of
exactly.
others.
It's incredible.
It's
what
incredible.
they
Let me
have.
ask you this. Is bartenders, is there like a learning curve to try to fashion these, upscaled NA drinks? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess that's a
Honestly, I
weird
think
question.
where our brainstorming comes in is that we're actually kind of trying to come up with cocktail recipes that still use a 1 ounce pour with our liquor cocktails.
Yeah.
That still drink maybe like a 2 ounce pour
Yeah.
cocktail, So for example, an old fashioned.
Yeah.
That's a cocktail that's spirit forward. It's really relying on the flavor profile of bourbon.
Yeah.
For the flavor of the drink. So how do I make something that isn't bourbon drink like a bourbon drink? So
Yeah.
for example, our last fall menu, we made a barley tea.
Oh,
and
wow.
so the barley tea has those kind of caramely notes
Yeah.
and grain, so you you're tasting these kind of flavor profiles.
Well, where do you get this information that you're doing this? Like,
the barley tea?
Yeah, like how do you
from
know?
Cookbook Club.
Cookbook Club from our friend.
Our friend is Korean,
And she was like, yeah, she brought it like iced. And we were like, what is this
what is this
delicious
flavor?
Wow.
She's like, well, Korea's really hot and you just need cold things all the time
Yeah.
to drink. And we were like, how do you make this? Tell us more.
That's cool that you kind of incorporate experiences, your own experiences into it.
But we're trying to come up with drinks that would reflect a classic cocktail menu. But
Yeah.
a lot of those drinks are pretty strong.
Yeah.
So we're
Right.
already doing some creative problem solving and some creative, workarounds of trying to make these cocktails that when you drink them, you feel like they're full flavored. And
Yeah.
you feel like they're complex.
Balanced.
They're balanced. All of these things that you would want, but without relying on that spirit, because also we don't know exactly which bourbon they're buying.
Yeah.
So even in that case, you can't make a drink for a spirit that there is huge variations in gin, in bourbon, in tequila, all
With the
of these
different
things.
brands.
With different
Yeah.
brands, absolutely. So to translate it to these NA spirits is not super difficult because kind of our drink recipes stand on their own.
Yeah.
What you're tasting is going to be the fresh ginger. What you're tasting, what you're smelling is going to be the fresh garnish. Anything that's adding a separate flavor that can sit on top that you're going to smell is going to just change the flavor of that drink immensely.
I'd be drinking these for Christmas
So
all day.
You can make them. Get a cast iron.
Yeah.
Slice your lemons pretty, not super thin, but thin.
Yeah.
Turn it up super high.
It's very refreshing.
And just flip them.
And it's more delicious. I mean, this is specifically a great example of how an NA spirit can shine.
Yeah.
Because the bitter lemon soda by itself is delicious.
Yeah.
Red Ribbon also makes a tonic.
We like the bitter
I
lemon.
love the bitter lemon. It's so extra special and just has such a different flavor profile.
Put a little dash in here.
Yeah.
Let me try it.
And so
All right.
the bitter lemon in and of itself is delicious, but if you just had the bitter lemon soda,
Oh, wow.
with
I
the
didn't expect it to
garnish-
taste like that.
Yeah,
That's really good.
So
It's
with
good.
that NA spirit, it really does give it an elevated, different flavor than if you're just drinking that bitter lemon soda by itself.
by itself.
Let me ask you this. Do people ever come up to me like, yo, let me get a shot of this free spirit? Like, just let me just get my hair wet a little bit and just try it.
If anything, I'm probably like,
We push
You
it.
need to try this by itself.
Yeah, that's it's so interesting to talk about like recovery and the people that are in recovery and like that world and that environment of everything, because it's like you're almost I mean, I'm not in recovery, but I know people that are. But it's like it's almost like taboo for anyone. You want to be able to still create that environment for people to come and
So everyone
experience.
feels welcome.
We're
Yeah.
collaborating with a friend of mine named Anne, who's starting this organization called Swim Effect. And Swim Effect is for musicians who are sober and sober people who love music
Yeah.
and want to go to live music. And the mission statement is that they want to have live music in spaces that aren't necessarily bars.
Yeah.
Where somebody who maybe doesn't feel comfortable being around alcohol or who's, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
they can go and see live music in a place that isn't pressuring also the bands and the artists to be encouraged to sell that alcohol.
Yeah, you're not
And
in
so-
that environment.
So we've collaborated with them a couple times, and we actually have an event coming up in August.
Wow.
And so we're gonna have a full NA bar.
Wow.
And so
Yeah, look for it. We'll be promoting
promoting
it
it.
on
So there's
their
a good
Instagram.
there's a good bit of stuff out there that's NA now. Like obvious,
So much.
Really? Wow.
yeah, it's really exciting
And I
and
think-
it's really cool. It's like it's nice to be able to celebrate with people no matter what they're choosing to
Yeah.
drink. We have a lot of parties where some are drinking and some aren't, and it
Yeah.
seems like everybody's kind of
Now,
having a good time.
is there any places that you both go? Like, do you do any sort of like courses or classes or anything to try to like further education, or is it kind of just you've been here long enough? You've been
mean
doing
for
it
us
long enough.
personally to
yeah,
learn?
for you personally to be
learn?
able to like kind of be educate yourself further and what's coming out, what's
We get
newer.
to go to bars.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point.
do go to
Research and
bars.
development.
Well,
Yeah.
we do actually do. That was our whole Vegas trip last year. We were like, okay, this is really R&D, but also she hadn't been to Vegas, and I'm like, I've been a million times, and I
Yeah.
love Vegas. It's just fun. I don't even gamble. I just
Yeah.
love
the vibe
a
of
weird
it.
shit show. I
Do you stay on the
enjoy it.
strip or Old Vegas?
So this last time was my favorite time. I've always stayed on the strip, but this was my favorite stay yet, and it was off the strip. at the Virgin Hotel, which used to be the old Hard Rock.
Yeah.
So you're not in Old Vegas and you're not on the Strip.
Yeah.
You're close to this really awesome, like kind of famous punk bar that's been there forever. And so it's more of like a little bit of a local zone.
That's good.
That comes off of the Strip, but you're like close enough to go to the Strip and do.
Yeah.
However, on that trip, I was hoping so much for cocktail experience because my previous experiences in Vegas had been pretty awesome. And, you know, the profile of most of their drinks that we found at an extensive amount of different cocktail bars that we went to were very sweet and geared, I guess, at a certain type of drinking person, like at multitude of different cocktail bars. However,
we were kind of shocked, to be honest,
We were
because we were
shocked.
really going out of our way, doing research, looking for
finding
independent
cocktail
Unique
bars.
things,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, and we went to a totally different neighborhood that I've never been to, this like kind of arts neighborhood that
with thrift stores
Yeah,
and
like
boutiques
record
and
stores,
record
and
stores.
it was
and stuff.
awesome.
We were really trying. We were on a mission, you know.
but
It wasn't
Everything
wasn't
was-
as good as you wanted it to
it
be.
wasn't as,
Right.
but we did learn some things and we definitely picked up some ideas. And then like our next trip, we want to go to Toronto because she's been and I've never been. And she's
Yeah.
like, the cocktail bars there are incredible.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that, like
And they have an awesome Chinatown,
Yeah.
and there's just and oh my
and
gosh,
R&D
Niagara
at,
Falls,
at cocktail
all of-
bars really truly is like educational development, because the thing is that we know how a menu reads.
Yeah.
So even when we're at a cocktail bar and it has all these ingredients, we can drink that cocktail and be like, there's only a quarter ounce of this in there for sure.
Yeah, you got
you
that.
know?
Yeah, you
Because
can,
we can
you can see
taste
something
it,
different.
But then we can also be like, I mean, write it in the notebook. Carrots.
we'll-
Turns out carrots are really good with gin. You know,
Or like, you'll be out with your husband and I'll get a text and it's like a blurry picture of a cocktail
because I've had a few.
or like the menu.
I like that
"Liz,
though.
we
The
gotta
whole
rip-"
idea of experiencing it yourself and then figuring out what you like more, what you want to add to it, what you want to take away from it.
Well, right. And we've gotten to the point where now that we've created several menus together and we kind of know what works as far as the model of the
Yeah.
business goes and what the model of our drink recipes look like, we can really kind of get this it opens our mind to having better inspiration where we're like, oh, that reminds me, we had this awesome mule on the menu. What
Yeah.
if we substitute this flavor instead of that flavor? Or stuff like that where we can really start to get even more creative because we've done this groundwork
Yeah.
of what we know what our and our drinks taste a certain way. And I think you and I like the same. We're looking for the same thing in a
we're looking
cocktail.
for balance.
Yeah.
And balance.
So
exactly.
often people will be like, I don't really like sweet things. I don't really like sour things. I don't really like spicy things. And so even if it says like, you know, we, for example, last winter we had a margarita that was like a smoky margarita.
Yeah.
And we used ancho chili and
it was so good.
it was so good.
We would
Reino's
take
is
these
another
dried
place that we
ancho chili peppers and steep them in the simple syrup.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
it would just like the dried peppers would just hang out in there. And so
wow.
it creates this depth of it has a spice to it, but
more
it's more
smoky.
smoky.
And so then people would be like, but I don't like
And
spicy.
we were calling
and I'm
it
like,
the ancho chili margarita. And then people would be like, oh, it's going to be
Spicy.
too spicy. So we started calling it a smoky margarita.
Yeah.
And then people
Right.
wanted it.
But it
you
wasn't
know?
spicy and it wasn't sweet and it wasn't sour. It was balanced. And to me, every cocktail should have balance. Like you should.
I'm not a sour person whatsoever. And the first cocktail we had, I thought it tasted great.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Yeah.
And it definitely has sour to it.
Yeah, you could taste the
it is
sour,
not
but it's not
tart,
overwhelming at all.
But it's not
Right.
overwhelming.
Yeah,
Right?
that's good.
So yeah, I feel like balance in cocktails is key. And and I got to say this, like after our Vegas trip, when we came back to Pittsburgh, we've gone to so many cocktail bars here, and like our cocktail bars are amazing.
Yeah.
like
That's what I hear.
When we went to where was it, Fig and Ash?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
That's
we
a
had
place I
almost
gotta go.
like every
Fig and Ash is
cocktail. We
excellent.
literally had like almost every cocktail on the menu because I was like, well, let's try this
Oh,
one
we
next.
did, didn't we?
It was so good.
Yeah, and then we look
cocktails-
and we're like, well, I'm gonna get this one that has curry and
So then you
carrot
get
and
this one.
foam.
Yeah,
and
we'll
then
have some
she'll be
sips of each
oh,
other's,
I'm gonna,
yeah.
Oh yeah, we're always
And
we eat off each other's plates. We
it's
finish
fine.
each
That's
other's
what we do.
sentences.
But that's the thing is like we actually our city has incredible cocktail bars, and it's not like we're going out there and going like, write that down because I'm going to rip that one off, because they don't translate to what we do because of our
I
volume
get
and
what you're
everything.
saying, though.
But like
You're
as far
getting
as
inspired.
gathering inspiration
Yeah.
and ingredients and you know, and also like actually Instagram is really cool for that too, in the way that there is so many different mobile cocktail bars that we follow now. I mean, in Nigeria in no lie in Nigeria. Like there's a Nigerian cocktail bar that
Wow.
like does what we do in Nigeria. We have German, like there's one that's Russian, and she's like cocktails and books. I'm like, I love this woman. I want to meet her in
So
real
you get
life.
inspiration from all these different areas.
And then you can get like weird ingredients, like, from that, you're like, I don't know, what is this kind of a thing? And then if you look it up and see, we can find it and we can source it and
wow.
try to make something out of it.
Sounds like a good,
really a unique.
it sounds like a fun,
experience.
Creative experience.
Yeah.
It's definitely our favorite
Sounds
part.
like a lot of fun.
Is that we get to actually geek out a little bit and come up with these drinks that, we don't want to scare anybody.
Yeah.
So they look
Right.
like a classic cocktail, but then there's something about each drink
Yeah.
that we definitely can talk about.
Yeah.
We could go through every single drink and be like, this is the inspiration. This is why, this is how we found it. There's a story behind it. And that's what is so special about what we're doing. Cause it gives this a personal attachment to it too. I'm like, these are you can't get this drink anywhere else in Pittsburgh or in the whole world.
So sometimes people will ask us that too at weddings. They'll be like, so what do I call this when I ordered it at the bar? I'm like, babe, you can't.
It doesn't exist.
That's cool. That got to be a good feeling to be able
Yeah.
to create that moment.
Yeah, totally.
That's Eden's run something interesting. That's for sure. It's cool to see. It's cool to hear about, and it's cool to kind of get to experience it with a couple different cocktails. Now, I mean, what do yins do whenever yins are not working? I mean, like, what's for fun? What do you do for
Sailing.
fun? Sailing?
Literally, my boat is like my favorite thing to do in the world.
And that makes sense.
I have a 16-year-old, so he's like at a point in his life where he's like works a job, goes to school. He goes to year-round school, which is kind of awesome.
Year-round school. Wow.
So they still only go to school the same amount as everybody else.
Yeah.
It's just that the time off is broken up throughout the year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in the summer, he's like still busy,
That's good.
And so my husband and I get to like go out to our boat. We actually spent pretty much last week at our boat.
That's great.
And it was wonderful. Yeah, I love.
How do you keep your,
Being on the
I mean,
river
like,
and-
I guess that's how, but I was going to say how, I usually ask people how people keep their mental, at a good level, because obviously you're running a business. It's probably stressful at times. It's probably overwhelming at times. Luckily you have each other to rely on and your other partners your other people that you're working with there. And, like, how do you keep control of that? How do you not get overwhelmed by that?
Well, I think that it's something that we both kind of collectively took away from our COVID experience, or kind of the silver lining of our COVID experiences,
Yeah.
where, I had never not worked.
Yeah.
Since I was 15
Right.
years old.
Same.
Never not worked.
Same, 15.
And once, taking this time, which I realized was the only thing that I had to show for this, I wasn't able to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to finally do all those house projects and all those things that I have been wanting to do. And so that's when I started, I pimped out my yard and got my inflatable hot tub and built my
Hell yeah.
garden and planted some fruit trees and got a shed. And, I bought an old pickup truck,
That's the
I have
best.
like some fun little projects that I can tinker with. And that's something that is very important to me.
Yeah.
But I think also as bartenders, our whole lives, you already are used to working an unusual schedule, or in a variable schedule, and not just a variable schedule, but with that comes a variable income.
Yeah.
You never know how much money you're going to make.
And
You don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
This is more of a controlled environment.
This is less.
I think our bartending experiences provided us the capability to accept the chaos of the business.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I like that.
Our business is chaotic. It isn't regular with pay. It isn't regular with
But
events.
we didn't
It
go
isn't-
from a 40-hour a week
Work week to-
we didn't go
yeah.
from a 9 to 5 to this.
Yeah.
This
And-
is literally only elaborating on and perfecting what we've already known our whole lives, as like, this is how we work. So when I worked at the Thunderbird back in the day, I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I always had Monday through Thursday off.
Yeah.
Right.
So I go to the pool, I read,
Right.
I go to my studio, I cook, I
Right.
sleep in, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
You work when you work, and when you aren't working, you really take advantage of that. That was just kind of part of that bartending culture
I like
that I
that.
love. That was like, I used to say work is just where I go pick up money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
not,
real.
That's not like, my life is my life.
Yeah.
And I really stand behind that. I travel a ton.
I think it's
you know,
important. That's why I ask people that.
I live as affordably. I think we both have very similar lifestyles. So we live pretty
That's
affordably.
helped both of us too, because like being a small female-owned business,
do
that's
not make a
we
lot
don't
of money.
no, our staff makes more than we do most of the time.
Yeah.
Because our business is the profit is just it's like not as big as how much our staffing is, because that's such a big part of what the
pay-
whole
the
yeah, and
whole thing is.
rather than scrape all the coins towards you, you spread it out to be able to keep prolonging this thing that you're building.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's something
So-
that we believe in, because I want people to work for me.
Yeah.
And in all of the language with not just small businesses, but in a post-COVID world, everyone's like, nobody wants to work. And I'm like, that just isn't my experience
Yeah.
At all.
Everybody wants to
No one wants to work for an asshole. That's what it is.
Right.
That's what it is.
Because
Or for no
COVID
money.
Or
kind
for
of
no money.
Well,
Yes.
COVID kind of was like, kind of brought the reality to people where it's like, oh, I've been here for 10, 15 years. And they're like, well, oh, well.
And they're like, who cares?
And you're
Yeah.
like, damn, I got to reevaluate everything that I have been
Precisely.
brainwashed
Totally.
to think.
Right.
Totally.
Right.
So it's like there's silver linings for it. I mean, it all depends on what you take out of it.
Right.
What
And I
anyone
think-
takes out of any situation. I'm a glass half full guy.
Right on.
I try to
My
be.
glass is delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. Now, you think there's anything I forgot or didn't cover as far as your business? I mean, do you want to go towards the ending segment that I do with everyone?
So is there anything you could think of?
I don't think so.
As someone who's curious about your business, I can't think of anything that I don't think we touched on.
No, I think we got to talk about it really thoroughly,
Good. Well, all right, time for the gauntlet. So the ending segment that I do with everyone is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions.
Oh God.
Okay. Desert Island Questions is whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category is movies. So you each get to pick 3 movies that you will get to watch, the rest of your life. You only get 3 DVDs. That's it.
Okay. Well, mine would be Magic Mike 1, 2, and 3.
Really? Magic Mike 1, 2, and 3. I saw the first and second one.
Did you?
I did.
The third one is fantastic.
Is that the one that just came out?
Yeah. It's so good.
I saw
She
some-
dragged me along, and I was like, I laughed for 2 hours, and it was one of the best movies.
I'm a Channing Tatum fan.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm a Selma
Well, it's a
Hayek
real
fan,
underdog
too.
story.
Selma
That's a real
Selma
underdog
Hayek is
story.
incredible in that
He's,
movie.
he's a furniture maker and can't get a loan, so he has to dance to
What a
make
funny
money.
guy.
It's
Channing Tatum. Good for him, though. Good for him. Okay, so Magic Mike, those were good. That's
1,
a
2, and
trilogy.
3.
Now, if I give you that as under one choice, what would the other ones be? It's so hard for me to just wrap my mind around, if you're just sitting there like Tom Hanks on in Castaway and you're just
Right.
watching
Yeah, I
Magic
probably
Mike.
wouldn't bring Castaway.
No.
People have picked it, though.
Maybe Rocky.
That's a good one.
I love Rocky. It's not about boxing.
Yeah.
It's about love.
It's about love. Okay.
And then, oh man,
It's hard. Yeah, I'm like, I've got 2. but
Cocktail?
the third- Oh, yes.
Tom Cruise.
Come on, that's a classic.
Honestly, that's the
Or
reason that
Flashdance. I do love
cocktail though.
I
Cocktail.
mean, cocktail is
Gotta have
so
cocktail.
good.
I mean, if we're shaking coconuts on the beach to
Yeah.
make cocktails,
yeah.
That's
might be nice to have the OG inspiration.
Bartender was something that it was always something that I wanted to do. I started to practice.
Do you want to pick
for
up a
it.
shift?
I would definitely kill it.
I think
I
you
would thrive in it, honestly. But I started to learn how to do flare and I blew fire and stuff like that.
Oh my god!
My cousin lived in Tampa next to Ybor City, so he was down there as a bartender, and him and his friend would work on a beach bar, and they would do flare, and they
So
would blow
fun.
fire with them flare bottles. And,
Amazing.
Dinner and a show.
Yeah, dinner and a show.
I love it.
It's that's always something that it was always been interesting. But cocktail, you cannot
that's a great
can't
one.
not love it. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay. What about your 3?
Oh God, it's really hard for me. The first 2 that come to mind are What About Bob?
Okay, that's a good one.
Classic.
I really love movies that make me laugh.
It's been so long
Like,
since I've seen that.
It holds up and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
because also I've had some like lines out of that movie recently,
gosh, yeah.
reminding me to
My
just,
little
like,
brother and I could repeat the whole thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then Zoolander, because Zoolander is also one of my top favorite comedies.
It's been picked on here before.
I mean, it's so good. It's
Been
so
picked
funny.
on here.
I can't.
Surprisingly, I'm gonna be crucified for this. I'm a Ben Stiller fan.
I am too.
I'm not a Zoolander fan.
Honey.
I'm not a Zoolander fan. But to be fair, it's been a long time since I watched it. I have to revisit it.
And I love Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson,
and he's
I mean,
so
like,
damn funny.
got
in that
Will Ferrell,
movie.
Owen Wilson.
I mean, David Bowie.
I should probably revisit it. It's been a long time.
The pants off.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love it.
I'll
I love
watch it again. I'll watch it again.
And then I guess the third one would be like also a comedy, Best in Show.
Oh, that's
Best
a good
in
one.
Show. What is
It's
that?
so great.
The dog
Christopher
show.
Guest movie. I don't know, maybe it's early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They're all old. And basically it's a spoof on the Kennel
Dog
Club
show.
dog
Yeah.
show. And it's got Parker Posey, and it has who's my favorite lady who's in Beetlejuice. Oh my god.
Catherine.
Yeah, the mom and the stepmom.
What's her name? Catherine O'Hara? Or
Yes, I
Catherine-
think that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
God, I love her.
Yeah, who doesn't?
I mean, she is amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's just really funny because all of their characters, Christopher Guest gave them these dogs, these purebred dogs to bond with.
Yeah.
And the actors just got to spend this time with these dogs and create their own character. So it is made in a documentary
Oh,
format.
really?
And they didn't supposedly unscripted.
I'll watch that.
It's hilarious.
I would watch that.
The fact that it's like unscripted, you believe all of it because they're like being their character self, and then
pretty
with
good.
their like neurotic dogs and stuff.
I like that. I'll
It's
watch that.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
So funny movies. That's what.
Second category, I usually ask people books, but I have other questions and I want to know. What is your go-to drink?
Well, Jim Beam. I mean,
Just straight Jim
that's
Beam?
what, it's funny because I feel like people ask bartenders this question a lot. And there's kind of, I love a margarita, like
Yeah.
a classic margarita, which to me doesn't need to have triple sec in it. It doesn't need to have, any
Lime, lemon,
sours
sugar.
mix. Yeah, it's just lime juice, lemon juice, simple tequila.
What's your least favorite?
My least to make or to drink?
Both.
My least favorite drink to make ever is the French 75, which it's gin and lemon juice and simple. And you shake it and you strain it into a champagne flute and then top it with champagne. And when I was working in a volume cocktail bar, it was a drink that visually people would see and be like, "Ooh, I want that." And with the champagne and the timing of it, there's
Yeah.
so much spilling and overflow, and the flute is delicate, and it's like a whole thing. It's just,
Okay, that's fair.
so that's my least favorite one, but I don't know. I like to just drink. I like whiskey on the rocks. I like Negronis. I like classic drinks, but
Yeah.
I think as I'm getting older and then also just getting more almost particular and to what we're making and what we're doing, I'm like, just give me something on the rocks. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to necessarily go out and try. I can look, like Aubrey was saying, I can look at a menu and kind of go, okay, I know I'm not going to like that.
Yeah.
Or I know I'm not, and maybe not even that I'm not going to like it, but
But
that
it's
it's
not
just
for
not
you.
going to thrill me.
Yeah.
Whereas I like to sip on a glass of whiskey, I like to, and usually it's not very glamorous. It's usually like on my back patio and I'm drinking
That's
Jim
fine.
Beam out of a coffee cup. And
There you go.
Very happy.
That's good. That's good. Okay, what about you?
Red wine.
Red wine?
All the way. It's like I'm a wino.
Okay.
When clients are like, so I'm like, wait, listen, I drink wine.
Yeah.
I make cocktails for a living. I love cocktails. If I'm going out like Pusades, incredible. I'm going to drink cocktails there.
Yeah.
But even still, they had a Gruner Veltliner last time I was there, which is a white wine. And I was like, ooh, I will have a cocktail and then I will have that. So I really, really, really love wine. Wine is my favorite thing to drink. And I just don't like sweet wine. That's the only. And then as far as like cocktail I don't like to make or drink is really an old fashioned. I don't get it. I like whiskey. So I will
don't get it.
Yeah, I will just drink the bourbon.
Yeah.
I will
You
drink
don't need
the
the
whiskey.
sugar.
I
What
don't
else
need
is in it?
It's sugar, an orange peel, and
Bitters.
bitters. So it's kind of like, to me, I appreciate a place for classic cocktails, but I also appreciate that they were created in a point in time when we did not have access to fresh citrus.
Updated a little bit.
XYZ, like we were having bathtub gin.
Jesus.
So we had we had to like take the bathtub gin and make it not taste like it was made in the bathtub.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just not really, they're really not my thing.
That's fair.
You know, if I'm going to have just a straight liquor cocktail, like I'll have a Manhattan.
Yeah.
I love a black Manhattan. Ooh, favorite.
I love a martini.
I had one of those. Yeah.
A martini with an olive in it.
Yeah, I like a martini.
Classic.
I like a dirty martini. That's good.
Absolutely love to have a martini. Like
we
at
had
4 p.m.
She had a espresso martini the other day. It was fantastic.
We had that on our menu last winter.
Yeah.
Or was it spring?
I don't remember.
But it was good.
We made a cold brew with coconut water.
Oh.
So
instead
what
of
we
regular
did, we
water.
used really coarse ground La Prima coffee.
Yeah.
And then put it overnight in the coconut water and then strain it. So it's essentially, instead of espresso, it's a cold brew.
Yeah.
But the
coconut water probably made it like more creamy almost.
Of it is insane. Yes. I mean,
and then we also made a toasted coconut syrup to give it the sweetener.
Unsweetened shredded coconut, put it in the cast iron. So just toast it in there, like a dry cast iron, then make a simple syrup with the toasted coconut in it.
Wow.
So, and then what's wild about that is that has such a high fat content because of the coconut that you have to strain it and then you have to really refrigerate it and then skim that fat off the top
off of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's wild. So it was really a coconut water cold brew martini with toasted coconut simple syrup in it. It was frothy. It was coffee. It was
sounds
so
really good.
delicious.
It was good.
And we made it decaf so people could have it
Really?
late night.
Wow, that's a smart idea.
We were like, we'll decaf this. We do a lot. Like Lisa introduced the making tea syrups. And so the tea syrups, we get a lot of our tea from Allegheny Coffee and Tea, and what's
in the strip and Presto
and
George.
Presto George. Those are like our
in
two
the strip
tea-
district. I mean, the strip here is such an incredible resource
Gem.
for Pittsburgh.
Get
I
everything
mean,
in
we
there.
do a lot of our. I think even just the way that we shop for our homes.
Yeah.
we are buying a lot of bulk
Oh, yeah.
items, going to these specialty shops, and with our schedules.
There's really
and
nothing
availability,
better.
It isn't. We're buying things.
That's our favorite thing to do is just go down there with a bag and
wander
just
around.
Wander around.
Yeah, follow
Loaf
your
of bread,
heart.
some
Yeah.
cheese here, pepperoni roll.
Exactly.
Yeah, just got to do something like that. Okay, third category, 3 CDs.
Oh, that's hard. See, books are easy for me because I read a lot.
You have a favorite book?
Currently, my most current favorite book is the Legendborn series, and it's going to be a 3-part series, but there's only 2 out, and
What's
it's
it about?
actually a young adult novel written by Tracy Dion, and it's really cool. It's like I like sci-fi and a little bit of fantasy, and so this is more on the fantasy end of things, but it's about this young girl who goes to University of North Carolina to like follow the footsteps of her mom who was recently deceased. So it deals with all these different, like life issues or whatever. But she's young and it's a young adult novel. So
I love it.
They there's like a character who's like they them, and there's like diversity. The main character is a young Black girl.
Yeah.
And so when she gets there, she discovers that there's like weird kind of magic portals happening. She like kind of stumbles upon it, and it turns out that there's like a secret portal to King Arthur's court.
Oh shit.
That is on the UNC campus. And so it gets
Wow.
Oh my God.
it's so good because it touches like all these political issues, racial issues, youth, teenage issues, college kid issues, like gender issues in the most clever, intelligent way. Like I would love to meet Tracy Dion and just be like, oh my God, I think you're a genius. And
That's
this
good.
was like her first full length novel.
Would
and
you say
I'm
it
just
was
like,
called again?
Legendborn.
Legendborn.
It's so good. And so, like I
Sounds
said,
good.
there's only the first 2, and I'm like, please write the 3rd one fast.
Yeah.
Because they're just she's just a brilliant. But
That's
sci-fi, if it's a sci-fi, I'm like,
You're
yes,
into it.
please
Yeah.
get it.
Okay.
My favorite book is Half Broke Horses by Jeanette Walls.
Which she bought me,
which
and it's
I have
fantastic.
probably bought 20 copies of this book. I just give it to people.
What
it's
is
it's a story about this girl growing up in West Texas.
Memoir.
So it's a memoir, yeah.
Oh.
And so the woman who wrote it, it's of the point of view of her grandmother,
Yeah.
who she didn't know. So she basically interviewed people in Texas
Oh, I love that.
knew her or knew of her or whatever to kind of create this first person narrative of
Oh,
this
wow.
life of this person. So she's speaking as if she's her grandmother. But then she has another book called The Glass Castle, which
I've heard of that, I
is-
feel.
Yeah, they made a movie of it.
Who
It's
writes it?
Jeanette Walls. Her writing's incredible.
What was the
But
Glass
so-
Castle about?
The Glass Castle is about this family. They're very poor, and the
Also her
dad
memoir,
is
right?
also her based on her life story, where the dad is like an alcoholic and kind of bouncing from town to town, but he has this dream that he's going to build them. Their family home is going to be this glass castle, and so it's kind of this story about, you know, maybe promises that you don't intend to keep, or
Yeah.
maybe goals that are hard to achieve, but this hopefulness, but then the disappointment of maybe
Yeah.
it maybe is never going to come true, but is it a dream, but is it real, you know, going to happen?
Yeah.
And being
And
a
so-
kid and like believing in your parents, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
and then growing into an adult and being like, oh my God,
What
my parents
the
are
Yeah, it's wild.
lunatics.
It's wild as an adult.
You know, you're like, oh,
Kind of rewind and think how
yeah.
everything came up. That's
Oh, yeah.
interesting. Was the movie good?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
And so, yeah, I love her writing, and I feel like I found one. Actually, I was at a barbecue at your house, and one of your friends recommended it to me.
that's so funny.
And so then I read The Glass Castle, and then that's how I read all of her other books.
Ah.
But so Half Broke Horses is just this kind of story about women persevering, you know, like growing up on a cattle ranch in Texas.
In a
and-
time when it was extra hard
Yeah.
to be
yeah,
a woman
and
in
just
that
like
That's awesome.
how, you know, just a tube of lipstick makes you feel different, or
Yeah.
just, you know, these things when you're kind of out on the prairie, or, you know, you're like working with your hands, and
Yeah.
it's just a really beautiful story about
That's good.
toughness.
yeah, toughness, grit.
Grit.
Good Texas grit.
Hell yeah. Texas
which
grit.
I like.
All right. What about the CDs?
CDs are so hard because I'm a jerk and I listen to Spotify all the time.
That's all
Well,
right.
I would,
do
I
too.
would
So-
bring Third Eye Blind.
Oh, yeah, you would.
Of course. I
That was
love Third Eye
probably
Blind.
one of after I ask you the CDs, I usually ask people the best concert they've ever seen.
Did you go to Stage AE
no,
when it
I-
rained?
No, I went to I saw
were
them
there.
in Atlanta at
Okay.
the Midtown Music Festival. I think there was probably like 15,000 people, but everyone's
gosh.
singing "Semi-Charmed Life" in
I mean,
unison.
I've
was
goosebumps.
insane.
My eyes were just pouring. It was so
We couldn't believe
overwhelming. Yeah, it was wild.
We saw them at Stage AE last summer,
Wild.
and it started pouring, raining, and everybody started leaving. And I kind of looked at Aubrey because we rode
Peace.
together, and I was like, "Is she
It was
gonna
hot.
wanna?"
Yeah.
We're like, screw
I'm
it.
like, "Is
Yeah.
she gonna want to stay?" And she's like, "Let's get closer to the stage. Everyone's
Hell yeah.
leaving," and it poured raining, and everybody knew every word to every song.
It was
Yeah, it's
awesome.
wild.
And that's such a, like, that music was out when I was in high school. So it just had, I mean, I was listening to it on a Discman between classes.
Hell
and
yeah.
it's like, it
has that
this
nostalgic
time
whole-
capsule
yeah.
to me.
I like that.
That I love. And I think for years I was a closeted Third Eye Blind fan. And now I'm 37 years old, and I'm proud
closeted
to
Third
be,
Eye Blind.
to be out about my Third Eye Blind.
It was an
fandom.
incredible, just to experience it with all those people
Singing everything, yeah.
How many times do you go to a concert where everyone knows every word to every single
there's a
word
lot
to
of
that?
hits.
Yeah, and it's just all bangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good though. Third Eye Blind. That's good.
Yeah, so probably that, then maybe some kind of classic country like Gary Stewart
Hmm.
or Dolly, or I don't
Can't
know.
beat Dolly.
Dolly for president.
Dolly, come on. now.
Just come on. And then I don't know if if this answer counts, but could I bring like a French language cassette tape
to
to
learn.
learn? I feel like if I'm on a desert island, it might be a good. I'm pretty
Yeah.
good at Spanish.
Yeah, it'll keep your
So
eye.
maybe if I got French, I could like learn a new language
That's good.
while
That's a
I'm
good
out there
idea.
before I
That's a good idea.
starve
Yeah,
to death.
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
And maybe you'll get rescued by someone French.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be
There you
hot.
go. That would be like
honey.
all the universal lining.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah. A Frenchman coming on like a nice sailboat. Yeah, for sure. That would
We
be
got
good.
martinis.
Yeah, Channing Tatum on
Channing Tatum.
a
Oh my
sailboat
God.
speaking
We
French
can
to
make
you.
cocktails.
He spoke French in Hateful Eight. He did. He spoke French in Hateful Eight, and it sounded pretty good.
I mean, maybe that's
There you go.
That's my, you know,
Yeah.
impossible life, right?
there-
That's my impossible.
That's your impossible life. That's perfect. Okay, that's good. That's good. What about your impossible?
Okay. Well, music wise, I really have a super. I know people are like, I like everything, but I truly have a
You do have a very eclectic
diverse taste in music. So I'll just say my current listens that I've been on lately have been Queen Herbie
Oh yeah.
and Miranda Lambert. See, very different.
Yeah, it's different.
Love both of them. And then Gillian Welch has been in my repertoire lately.
Well,
but-
speaking of Spotify, Aubrey and I
yeah.
share. We have a
playlist.
Spotify shared playlist that we just dump music onto.
Yeah.
It's called Tejas, and it's basically all our favorite country jams, mostly female
Yeah.
singing
Yeah.
country
So we
jams.
just dump music onto it, and it's
Yeah.
a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
So
Are you in a new country?
I
Yeah,
like
some-
all of it.
See, I was not real into the new country, but I'm going in hard now. I'm Tyler Childers brought
Oh,
me
I
in.
love
Yeah.
Tyler Childers.
It was I went to Deep Creek with a bunch of my friends.
Nice.
I fell asleep early. Everyone else went to the bar, and then I woke up. I fell asleep probably 11 p.m. I woke up at 3:30 in the morning to Johnny Cash blasting, but it was outside. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" It woke me up. It was loud as hell. 3:30 in the morning. I go out there, and my buddy and his brother are sitting there, and it was the first time I ever heard Tyler Childers, and they play Feathered Indians, and we listened to this song probably 8 times over and over again, and just like dissected it and like
Yeah.
what we thought about it and like our interpretation of it. And it was like such a powerful moment. And then I just kind of did a deep dive on him and like Zach Bryan.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Zach Bryan.
But it's like, then now I listen to both of them and it's like starting to overflow with other people. And there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah, I have a good friend who plays for Zach Bryan and Charles Wesley Godwin. And
I know who them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So my friend Reed Connolly he plays pedal steel for those bands, and so Charles Wesley Godwin played at the Grand Ole Opry back in March, and so I got to go and see my friend play, and that was so awesome.
I wonder if I just liked the song because he was the first it was the first time.
The song's
I heard
probably
them.
called Jesse.
It was
That's like that's my favorite of Charles Wesley Godwin.
regardless though, but definitely good stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of genre, like at least the boys that I know that are playing in Zach Bryan's band and Charles Wesley Godwin, like they're Western PA, West Virginia boys,
Yeah.
and they're cool. Like they're cool, and they're making music, and they're really kind of living their truth.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
It's awesome that some of these musicians now are even kind of usurping Ticketmaster
Yeah.
and kind of giving them the finger and saying, why are the fees so expensive? Like
I know.
I want my fans to just be able to see the music, and that's really radical.
Yeah,
that's
just
really
seeing,
cool.
I was just seeing Zach Bryan talk about that because people were bitching about his Red Rock show, and he's like, "What do you want me to do?" He's like, "I'm trying to do what I could do." But yeah, there's a lot of good music.
There's
out
so
now.
many people who have more power than these artists
I
and
know.
more
It's like,
fame.
what do you
and more
want these people to
celebrity,
do?
and
It's a young
they're
kid that's
charging more money than
It's
and
really crazy.
It's like,
It's crazy how much hate the artists get because they think that this is going to be like, I saw Tyler Childers getting ripped apart, because his resale tickets are crazy.
And
but
they're
it's
not
like,
making that money.
what do you expect?
That's the thing. It's like
crazy.
the artist isn't the one making that money.
Yeah.
it's wild.
Their managers, their production, their labels, XYZ.
It's always good whenever you see people that are like kind of pushing back against the system though.
Absolutely.
Do you remember when Neil Young did that?
Yeah, I do.
I actually went to that concert with my dad right when he like told Ticketmaster to F off. he played in Austin, Texas. This was like, I don't know, like 1993. It was with Blind Melon and Dinosaur Jr. And it was one of the best shows. Not my favorite. My favorite show was a tie between Dolly Parton and Patti Smith. And I saw them both in the same year.
Oh my God.
I saw them both in the same year. And it was like icon upon icon. And I was like, okay,
Incredible.
I've
it's
seen my
insane.
favorite females of music
Wow.
of all times. And also over the age of 70 when both of them performed and I saw them that year. And I'm like, Patti Smith played at the Carnegie Museum at the lecture hall or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, her fingers bled. She
Yeah.
broke guitar strings. She took off her shoes and threw them. She spit on the ground.
Yeah, badass.
She bitched about Trump.
That's the
she
best.
told everyone in the
Yeah.
audience that the reason we were in that position is because of her generation of boomers. Like, she's just so badass.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's cool. What about, what's your favorite show?
It's tricky. When I worked at the Thunderbird, it was a music venue, but it was really small. So I got to see some pretty cool acts that then became bigger things. I saw Shaky Graves in a room with like 20 people.
Yeah.
And that was pretty awesome. And he's coming to the Roxy in October, I think. And I was like, I should really check that out because it would be fun to see him again as kind of this, now that he's a bigger star.
Yeah.
So I miss that aspect of working in live music because that was really fun making money there and also getting to just see all these.
That's what we were just
shows,
talking about. My wife, she just got tickets to, she bought tickets to Ed Sheeran and we went to go see Ed Sheeran and like, I'm watching these security guards there and I'm like, this got to be the best job. They're just sitting down there making sure.
It's such a bonus.
Yeah. And you're just right next to them listening to all this. It's
That
pretty
being
neat.
said, then there'll also be people who come up and are like, hey man, didn't you love the music? And you're like, look, do you want
get
another
away from me.
Budweiser?
Yeah.
Can you please
If I could wear earplugs and still hear you, I would.
Yeah.
Did you hear that Ed Sheeran was like at a pizza joint outside of the city?
That was
handing
right
out
near
free pizza?
my old house, right near my old house.
I just read that.
So me
today.
So funny.
and her were looking at videos and we were like, is that the Caliente that used to be the Sharp Edge? And I looked it up.
I know exactly where you're talking
right on
about.
the corner, that place that was.
He handed
was
out
there.
free pizzas, like 100 free pizzas, and I think tickets. He had tickets to the
It
show.
looked insane there. But yeah, Ed Sheeran, he played a hell of a show. It's pretty wild.
He's a pretty awesome guy.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I'm a casual fan, but
I'm a casual fan as well, but I also just I like what I know of his personality and
Yeah,
his
he seemed
ethics.
cool.
He just seems like a pretty good
It was cool
person.
because this dude it specializes in a loop pedal. So it's like, it's so cool to see that aspect of people creating like whole layered songs.
In front of
like,
you.
on top.
Yeah, it's just like, and him explaining it along the way. So pretty neat.
very cool.
That's pretty rad.
Okay, third category or third question is something called the death row meal. So the death row meal is whenever you get the last meal before you get put to death, you get an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. What would they be?
Okay. My appetizer would be pizza.
Okay. Any toppings?
I love pizza. I love all toppings except mushroom, really.
Really?
Yeah, not a mushroom fan.
Okay.
My main course would be steak of some sort. I mean, the Texas, you can't take it, the girl. You can take the girl out, but
Yeah.
I can't take it out of me.
That's the most common.
I love steak.
That's the most common is the last meal is a steak.
I don't know why. I do. And then dessert would be a creme brulee.
Oh, creme brulee is good. It's good.
Like a favorite
It's hard to
dessert
beat.
of mine. Mhm.
Yeah, if it's done
And
well.
actually, my husband made probably the most delicious one I ever had when we had our French cookbook night. I'm still like, you need to make that again.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Creme brulee. What about you?
Definitely a shrimp cocktail to
Shit,
start.
I forgot about that. That's also a favorite.
It's like,
but
and it's
yes.
also a Lobar girls tradition. Like if
we're shrimpy.
If us girls are out and there's a shrimp cocktail on the menu,
getting it?
we're getting
We're getting the shrimp.
We're getting the shrimp. Always gotta
shrimp.
get the shrimp.
Okay.
And then probably for my meal, it would probably also be steak. I don't eat a lot of meat. I was a vegetarian for a very long time.
Same.
But that's one thing where I don't prepare meat at home. Like I cook all the time, but since I didn't like my formative years of cooking didn't involve it, I just kind of outsourced that.
Yeah.
I trust a chef. I think also working in catering, there's at the end of a party, there's always leftover food.
Yeah.
And I just watch them throw away steak or throw away salmon or throw away. And especially when we're working with companies like Black Radish, that food is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
And
well,
they feed us. But
They
then we
feed
also
us.
bring baggies.
Oh, we bring baggies. We're taking
Just to make
quart
sure.
containers. We're emptying. I'm
That's
throwing
smart.
slices of lemons into the bushes so I can fill up my containers with mashed potatoes or whatever they're making. But, I think that every year on my birthday, I would get steak. But I want like the steak, the mashed potatoes, the mushrooms.
Yeah, the whole
I
thing.
want the thing.
Yeah.
And a glass of red wine.
That's fair.
That's like my birthday meal.
Okay.
So probably that, and then a dessert, probably one of those, like a custard cake with the fresh berries on top.
right.
Oh, my
I
God.
love that too.
You know,
we do
that's
have
what
that in common
we
too.
always-
That's a
that's our
favorite
favorite.
dessert.
Yeah, that's
I
good,
forget
too.
what they're called.
Is it called a tart?
I think it's a fruit tart.
yeah,
Maybe
something.
you're right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like anything custard, like a flan.
Yeah, I love all
thing
that.
like
Flan,
that. Yeah.
Oakmont Bakery got a banger of a fruit tart. Very,
Dang
very
it!
good.
I was just there the other day.
Yeah,
I didn't get that. I got a chocolate eclair and it was real
That's
good.
good,
And
too.
I got pepperoncini bread, which was like probably my favorite bread I've ever had in my life.
Honestly, the best thing about Oakmont Bakery is not any of the baked goods even. It is these things. I can't remember what they're called, but they're like little buns that have like sausage.
I almost got
Like a
those. The
kolache?
Italian. No, I've never heard of them before, but I know exactly because I was like, I almost got them because I was like, I'm kind of in the mood for something savory.
They're
and they're
unreal.
little and round.
Yeah, they look
and they're
like a
stuffed
meatball.
with-
They're stuffed with like a
Italian sausage.
Yeah, Italian sausage and like a little bit of a meat. But
Damn it, I'm gonna try those next
yeah,
time.
my birthday just passed, and my mother-in-law always gets me those and a cake from there. But she got me like 8 boxes of these this time.
Oh my
I
God.
just put a bunch in a
Wow.
freezer, but they are phenomenal. Okay, that's good.
Awesome.
Second to last question is the most telling. You're getting ready to go on a road trip. You go into a gas station, and you could pick a snack. What would it be?
Popcorn, cheddar popcorn.
Your cheddar popcorn. Okay.
beef jerky.
That honestly, beef jerky is probably the most picked.
That's
out
so
of
funny.
Any out of all those.
How weird. Popcorn would be my second. because
popcorn and a
is-
pickle.
It's either beef jerky or combos. Surprisingly, combos is usually picked a good bit, which is so strange.
Yeah,
for me.
gross. I don't like those.
Yeah, definitely. I used to like them as a kid, but
Well, yeah, for
nowadays-
sure.
A jalapeno Cheeto.
That's
I
good, too.
sometimes
Ooh,
will
yeah.
get down.
Yeah,
I can.
Cheetos
I'll
are
fuck
good.
with
Hot
it.
Cheetos are just
Hot
good in
Cheetos.
general.
Can't deny that.
That's good.
But I like to eat them with chopsticks, so I don't get.
I do that too. I posted a reel about that.
Did you
I was
really?
I was editing a podcast, and I was like, "This is how I snack." And
Oh my God.
yeah, because I couldn't get it all over the keys.
Exactly.
Okay, last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
I think it would probably be N.K. Jemisin, who is an author. She is alive. She writes sci-fi.
Okay.
She is a woman who she's won 3 Hugo Awards, sci-fi writer awards, and she won them all. First of all, she's the first woman to have won more than one. She's also Black, and she also won all 3 of those for a book series, a 3-part book series.
Really?
And that's also never happened.
What's that called?
It's called the Earth series, I believe. I'm gonna now I feel like a jerk. But it's basically a sci-fi book about. Oh, it's very deep, but it goes really into into actually like Earth and beyond, like geologically, and how that connects to like I don't know if I'm going to do this justice, but humans and the future of our planet and
Okay.
how we live. And I just think she is like such an incredibly inspiring author, and
Yeah.
just I would love to pick the brain of someone like that. Like, how do you create
For sure.
these incredible worlds in your head?
Oh yeah, like the in-depth
Like,
things like that.
how do you
Detailed,
just like
vivid.
you've created a whole different society and
Yeah.
like world and planets, like essentially.
Yeah, it's
just
like
with your creative
Game
mind.
of Thrones. It's like someone who like wrote Game of
Mind-blowing.
Thrones. It's like
mind-blowing to
how do you
me.
even keep track?
How
of
do
all
you do that? How do you live in the regular life and
Yeah.
like? Because
That's
when
cool.
I read that series, it like broke my brain. Like I couldn't.
Felt like you were in a
every
different
single
world.
day. I would be like, that's kind of like this.
Yeah.
My husband was finally like, yeah, okay, I don't know what you're reading. I haven't read the book. I don't really know. But I think it would be her because I do not write. I just read a lot, and I have such admiration for people who are like that kind of creativity. To me, is just so incredible.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
You're thinking?
I am, but I mean, I feel like maybe RBG, like Ruth Bader
Oh,
Ginsburg
yeah,
or
yeah,
somebody.
yeah.
Like
She's been picked on here.
I feel like I kind of am still understanding how I fit into society as a woman and as a business owner, and like what that kind of means for me as I'm still growing up and still kind of like understanding. I think it's so important to kind of take into perspective how far we've come, but also how far we have to go. And I just admire her. Like, I would love to know how she made it as far as she did, and
Yeah,
how
like the
she
courage.
got to and like her story is so
Perseverance,
incredible,
all that.
perseverance and that,
Yeah.
where like, I kind of want to say, you know, like, how did you get the, you know, how were you able to keep going? And then also,
crazy.
you know, like what do you recommend, you know, or what's your advice for us out here? Because it's easy to get discouraged by the way that the world is going. And sometimes it's easy to feel, you know, to second guess yourself for a minute. And I just feel like that would be something where that conversation you would walk away with being like, wow,
That's a good answer.
that's, I need to remember this so that I can keep going and just keep doing the work to make this world a better place. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot
Yeah.
of work to keep doing.
That's a good answer.
It's
I like
called
that.
it's called the Broken Earth series. I had to look it up. I was
That's all
gonna
right.
die.
Broken Earth
good.
series.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait, that or Dolly, I guess.
Yeah,
Dolly.
yeah.
I mean,
Dolly,
Dolly would be a good one.
If
Dolly's
I saw
kind of a
Dolly,
win.
I would cry.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't pick her is because I would start crying so violently.
Don't even know if I
And
could.
I would be, I mean,
Starstruck, I
I
think.
don't even know. I'm going to cry right now just thinking about it.
Yeah,
I
Dolly,
mean,
that would be a good answer too. It would be.
And she's just such an entertaining human. Like when I saw her live, I was just like, what?
I
It
mean,
was the
just like
best
a
show.
presence for
and
how
she's
long
so funny,
she's been there.
And
I
she's
mean,
so
she's so
smart. and she has
funny.
so many stories to
Yeah.
tell that it's just like, just keep
And
talking.
I feel like you've never heard a bad thing about her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, all just
Yeah.
good things.
That's so true.
And that's a good answer. Those are both good answers.
She probably has all those people killed. Or
I
something.
know.
Right?
I know. She's doing something. She got to do something.
Because you're like, is that possible?
I know. You don't really
Never
hear nothing
heard
about
from
that.
again.
Yeah, I mean, that's are all the questions that I got for you today. I appreciate you coming
Thanks,
over and
Chad.
talking to me about all this.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having
this
us.
was
This was
so
awesome.
fun.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you had a good experience for your first podcast. Please take a second to promote your business, where people could find you, your Instagram, the whole 9 yards.
Our Instagram is at Lobar Cocktail Services.
No W. Lobar.
Lobar. Lobar. Yeah, and
Our website is the same.
lobarcocktailservices.com. And you can reach us through that. You can send an inquiry. You can see our menus and our pricing.
And we will
everything.
also we are private events usually only. However, we will be at 2 public events. We'll be doing the Dry July event,
which is actually in
actually
August
going to
now.
be in August now.
But yeah,
But this will be an open to the public.
you can buy tickets through Swim Effect.
And we'll be promoting that on our Instagram as well. And then we're also doing, before that, we're doing the Mattress Factory's Community Days,
Yeah.
which is kind of like their garden party, but it's just, you don't have to pay a bunch of money for a ticket. It's
Yeah.
open to the public and anyone can come. And it'll be really fun. There's going to be performers,
And
artists,
we'll actually be
food,
selling,
and we'll be selling cocktails
drinks,
for that
which
one.
is not normally our format.
Yeah.
So, usually you have to hire us to have our drinks.
Yeah.
We're coming to your house, we're coming to your event. This is one where you can just walk up. There'll be tons of other vendors, food, artists, etc. And that's on August 6th. Yes.
so many events that week.
August
I think
6th. Yes.
yep.
It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
At the Mattress Factory.
From
in the
1 to
North Side.
5, and that'll be that's a good way that you could try out our drinks. And also we'll have a Goodlander cocktail there. The only drinks we will pour that are not our own are
Yeah.
Goodlanders. Goodlander is a cocktail distillery. Is that what they?
Sure.
And
They're like a
or
cocktail brewery.
Basically, they do what we do in cocktails, but they keg them.
Oh.
And then you can have them, like, I don't really like beer. So when I go to places like Trace, that's a place I love to go. And my husband will drink the beer and I always get a Goodlander cocktail. So they put them on draft in all the bars all around the city. And then you can also buy them for your own.
You can get
like,
a
I'm having a
growler.
barbecue and you can get a growler of cocktail.
And
I
they
didn't
have
know
great
that.
NA options too.
And their NA options are great.
So when we collaborate with them, we call ourselves Lowlander, which is a little collab between Lobar
I like
and
it.
Goodlander.
I like it.
Because they will, Wes, who owns Goodlander, will make cocktails for us, like our cocktail, and
I like
keg it.
that.
So
you're saying like they'll make a mixed drink and put it together, almost like how Maggie's Farm will do like a pain. The what's it called, like the
painkiller.
Painkiller.
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying.
Same
now.
deal. Like it'll be basically like a already kegged situation.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're great.
That's cool. You just do some cool stuff.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for
So do
giving
you.
us a chance to explain it too. You know, nobody does what we do. So it's like, it's really neat to have a platform to be able to say,
Absolutely.
this is what we do.
I think people will be interested for sure. I hope you get a bunch of inquiries. I hope that we'll keep in touch after this. Everyone else that's listening, appreciate it as usual. Each and every week, back with another great guest doing great things in the city. Call you right back.